Okay, live.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. It's 6:08 and we are live.
Thank you. Thank you. Apologize for starting a little bit late. We had a very important thing to do and we did it. So I'll call this March 25th, 2021 City Commission meeting to order. With the clerk, please call the roll.
Mayor Betty Resch,
Here.
Commissioner Sarah Maliga,
Present.
Commissioner Chris McBoy,
Present.
Commissioner Kim Stokes,
Here.
Commissioner Herman Robinson.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, please stand for the invocation offered by Commissioner Robinson, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Commissioner Maliga. Well, first we're going to do the moment of silence. Invocation by Robinson.
I was going to seek blessings on the task before us tonight. Bless our efforts with clear insight, our deliberations with wisdom, our work with clarity and accuracy, and our decisions with impartiality, integrity, and honesty. Amen.
Thank you. Okay.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. Madam Clerk, are there any additions, deletions, or reordering?
Yes, Madam Mayor, there are. Under new business, there's a deletion. We deleted item B, the First Amendment to the Parking Enforcement Solutions. It wasn't quite ready and it will be heard on April the 6th. And under Lake Worth Beach Electric Utility, under the consent agenda, item 2 has been deleted for the same reason. It isn't ready, but it'll be brought back again. And just the other day, we were asked to give a proclamation for the Vietnam veterans, Vietnam Veterans Day, which is March 29th. It's a day of reconciliation, and they would ask that you read a proclamation before at tonight's meeting before the event.
Thank you very much.
And that's all I have. Thank you.
That would come under presentations.
It will be at the third presentation, presentation C.
Right. And then when you said consent agenda number 2, did you mean B?
No, that was on the electrical, I think.
Madam Mayor, it's under the Lake Worth Utility. It might be on the back side of your page. Under the Lake Worth Utility, there's a consent group, and it's item 2.
Got it. Thank you very much. All right.
Sure.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
are the commissioners allowed to participate in additions, deletions, reordering?
I believe you are.
All right, I would ask that on the consent agenda of the regular agenda, that item C be pulled for brief discussion.
Okay. Madam Clerk, do we have to vote on that, or does that just happen?
We will vote. We will take a vote on that, but that means that item C for the consent agenda, the task order 6, will be moved to item E in new business.
Thank you. So much.
And is that the only other addition or deletion to the agenda?
Anybody else?
Okay, Madam Mayor, you can call for a vote.
All right. I'm calling for a vote on taking consent agenda number C off the consent agenda and put it in new business.
Second.
Thank you. I need a motion.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Any nays? Having none, it's moved. So,
Thank you.
thank you. It's his voice from the world.
I know, it's like Oz behind the.
I know, it's like, don't look behind the curtain.
no attention.
Okay, so now we're at presentations. Right?
Yep.
Okay. The first one is the Palm Beach County School Board Digital Wi-Fi. And someone's going to present something. Do I have that?
Is Adam here yet? Adam Miller, I believe, from the Palm Beach County School Board is going to be presenting.
Okay.
Yes, I just added him, and anyone else, just let me know.
Okay. And then, so should we, until he gets here, should we move on to the next one?
No, Adam is here. He's going to present, and he may have some other people from the school board that he'll introduce.
Well, okay.
Via Zoom.
via Zoom.
Well, good evening, Mayor Rush and commissioners. My name is Adam Miller. I'm the Director of Educational Technology for the School District of Palm Beach County. Presenting with me today is James Gavrilos, the CEO of the Education Foundation of Palm Beach County, as well as Mike Butler, the Director of Information Services for Palm Beach County. First, we'd just like to wish you, Mayor Rush and the new commissioners, congratulations, and we wish you well. I'm going to share my screen, and just give me 1 second. Nope. There we go. Okay, can you see my, yes, you can, great. So I'm here to present on what we are calling our Digital Inclusion Initiative. The Digital Inclusion Initiative is a brainchild of the School District of Palm Beach County, the county, and the Ed Foundation. With the school district, this is our vision and mission. Just want to point out our part of our mission highlighted in red. You know, our mission is to provide a world-class education with excellence and equity and to empower each and every student to reach his or her highest potential. Our mission in this Digital Inclusion Initiative is to grant all students, regardless of the zip code of their zip code, access to reliable, high-speed, free internet service in their neighborhoods. We're calling this the Digital Inclusion Project under Access for All. And again, this is a collaboration between Palm Beach County, the Ed Foundation, and the school district. I just want to take us back. A number of you are new, so we have presented to this group before. Just some history. Back in March, when we had to close up shop due to COVID, the school district, we surveyed our families and asked, you know, who doesn't have internet access? Who doesn't have a device at home? We quickly saw it was about 15,000 students across our district reported that they didn't have internet access. Please note that not everyone responded to our survey, so we believe that was a higher number. A coalition was formed quickly between the county and the school district to work together to put up what's called a Wi-Fi mesh network. Just like you have Wi-Fi in your home, we want to put this Wi-Fi out in the community, out over the air, so our students and their families can connect to this Wi-Fi for free. And it should be high speed, so like 100 megabits per second download speeds. We've been working together on this initiative. We pulled in the Ed Foundation, and we've been working together on this for over a year, and we're going to continue to be working on it. I'm going to give you a little bit more background, a little more information, and then we're going to provide you some updates. When we did that survey I just mentioned, we plotted out where all the students said, you know, that said they didn't have internet access where they lived, and we saw it matched up very correlated very highly to where we had our greatest concentrations in the county of students that are on free or reduced lunch and where they live. So we created some heat maps. As you can see here, the area of deepest red is the area of greatest concentration of students that are on free or reduced lunch. And then there's red, orange, and yellow. The county needed, using CARES funds, that's how they're funding this initiative for the infrastructure. They needed an area to start, and they could cover about 50 square miles for their the initial part of this project. So that's why we had to focus, and we developed these heat maps, and we're really focused on the deep red and red areas for the most part. But when you hear from our county counterpart, Mr. Butler, you know, they're really doing a great job of trying to cover as much as they can. They're just good people. So what does this mean to Lake Worth Beach? So last time when we presented, this is the number of students that would be impacted. So you see about 5,000 students are living in the extreme density of the dark red areas. That's just under 5,000 of students on free reduced lunch, 450 on the red areas, and then you can see the orange. So we're going to cover about 5,700 students. Please note that's individual unique students. That does break down to about 2,700 families, right? Brothers and sisters living in the same home. So that's what we're trying to do in your city. So to create this Wi-Fi mesh, just an FYI, I'm not really that technical. I'm a former principal, but when I do this part, everyone thinks I'm the IT guy. I'm more of an academic. However, I mentioned the county. So the county is building out the infrastructure for this network. Across the top row, what has to happen first is the laying of the fiber optic cable, and you can see county crews putting fiber optic cable into the ground. That fiber optic cable is connected to the big radios, we call them, or root radios, that are placed on school district and county buildings. As you can see here, that firehouse has one of the big radios attached atop of it. The internet signal comes through the fiber optic cable to the root radios and is sent out into the neighborhood. And then on the right side, you see our smaller root radios that are placed on poles. And Mr. Butler will talk about specifically where it's placed in your county, in your city, sorry. Those smaller radios actually put out the Wi-Fi signal in the area, and they'll cover about 1,500, 1,600 square feet, each individual radio. Together, all those individual radios will form a web or a mesh of the Wi-Fi we see represented at the bottom left. That's the first part, and that's the county's work. The next part is those Wi-Fi extenders you see in the bottom middle there. Some of you may have them in your homes. Your Wi-Fi router sends out a signal, but sometimes a wall will block it, or other materials or trees, things like that, plants in your home, believe it or not. So you might have this Wi-Fi extender, you plug it into an electric outlet, it grabs the Wi-Fi and extends it into another area of the home. We're going to use those Wi-Fi extenders to grab the signal from the Wi-Fi mesh radios, and it'll be password protected. So the families of these students will plug this in, and we'll train them on this to plug it in and then connect to the Wi-Fi mesh network. And that'll make sure that the signal's pulled into their home and extends to every part of their home. So wherever the kids do their homework or do their schoolwork, that they should be able to get the Wi-Fi mesh. And this is where the Ed Foundation comes in. They've been helping fundraise for this. Together, we've raised almost $1 million so far for students across our county, which is amazing. So all of this together will make sure that these families enjoy Wi-Fi in their home. And I want to say again, it's going to be fast Wi-Fi. It's going to be Wi-Fi that my children enjoy, like 100 megabits per second or faster download speeds, which is fast. We've also learned, to make sure we're including community outreach in our work. You're not having too many poles put in around your city. We have put yard signs in other cities, but letters to residents have been mailed out and continue to get mailed out from the county, just to notify them when the radios go up in their area. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Mike Butler from the county to talk more about the infrastructure updates for what's going on right now in your city.
Yeah, so as Adam mentioned, the root radios are the key component to this because they are fiber attached. So we are currently in the process of building fiber to the 4 elementary schools, as well as Lake Worth Middle and Lake Worth High School. And we are installing root radios at the monopoles at those schools. So we have just finished all of our planning with the Lake Worth Beach Utilities Department, and we are installing 44 radios on Lake Worth Beach utility poles, and that started this past Monday. So we are working on that now with your utilities department, and it's covering the area from 10th Avenue north, south to the municipal boundary, and from I-95 to the intercoastal. So we are also building fiber through the city to attach to about every 5th pole. Once we do that, it will give the system more capacity, and we'll be able to ensure that we provide adequate signal strength for all these students.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Butler. And then I'm going to turn it over to James Gavrilos, the president of the Education Foundation, to talk about our fundraising efforts.
Thank you. Thank you to both Dr. Miller and Michael for, every time I hear you, I learn something new. Folks, I run the Education Foundation, and I want to make sure we understand the importance and the depth of this project. At one level, it's about getting kids able to do their school lessons. And if there's one picture from this pandemic that I don't think any of us will ever forget, it was one of the 2 young girls in California sitting in the parking lot of a Taco Bell doing their schoolwork because that's the only way they could access a Wi-Fi signal. We just don't realize how many people don't have access to the internet. Now, some might say, well, things are getting better. People are getting vaccinated. Won't we be back in school in September? Will this become obsolete? And the answer is a resounding no. On the education level, kids are going to be doing remote work forever. They're going to be studying. They're going to be accessing information, researching. All of that takes place on the internet. If they can't access the internet, what happens? Secondarily, though, and I would say more importantly, our friends at Quantum Foundation have done the study, and families without the internet, and these are hard things to say, ladies and gentlemen, families without access to the internet who typically live in poverty over their lifetime will have lower graduation rates, they earn less money, and they have a lower life expectancy. They earn less, they learn less, and they live less.
Yeah.
So this is a project really for giving equity of access to all of our families, and especially those in Lake Worth Beach who have fallen below the poverty level or who are struggling. And so what we need from Lake Worth Beach is a couple of things. One, your help as the polls go in, as we're, the process is going on, help us, get the word out to your constituents that this is really a step forward for a lot of families who are falling through the cracks of the American dream. I'm sure Michael Butler will always appreciate any vertical accesses that you have where we can install these radios and distributors. And then finally, on the fundraising piece of the puzzle, those extenders to which Dr. Miller referred, they cost about $55 each. As Dr. Miller said, we've raised almost $1 million getting these Wi-Fi extender boxes into the hands of some 20,000 families. And so if you have people in your town that you think might be willing to support, some of the partners who have stepped up include the Miami Dolphins, the Stiles Nicholson Foundation, the Pew Foundation, PNC Bank, I Think Financial. And so a lot of our local businesses as well as local philanthropists have stepped up. The final thing I would say there is that I believe this project has really captured the attention of a lot of people around the country. And I'm not just blowing smoke here, folks. I don't think we in Palm Beach County are smarter than anyone else. Well, maybe we are actually. I just think we're a little bit more practical. This collaboration involves Palm Beach County, the school district, the for-profit, the nonprofit, and the corporate world. And so I received a call, believe it or not, from the Walton Family Foundation, and they heard about what we're doing here in Palm Beach County. And they were so impressed, they made a $100,000 contribution to this project because they said, we've never seen this kind of collaboration between the civic entity, the governments, the school districts, and then your business partners and the philanthropic community. Palm Beach County is leading the way in this. And we just want to thank Lake Worth Beach for being a good partner and certainly for helping us get to where we need, which is to make sure that every family has access to the internet, that we have equity of access for all of our families, children of color and children in poverty able to do their schoolwork and their families able to apply for jobs, do telemedicine, and get their benefits. So anything that Lake Worth Beach, the mayor, the city commission, and again, like Dr. Miller, I want to congratulate you on your election. Anything you can do to help us get the word out simply makes it more advantageous for these families and we bring them into the 21st century. So my name is James Gavrilis. I'm with the Education Foundation. Back to Dr. Miller.
Thank you, James. And, James did leave off that, due to his hard work, he has raised $160,000 to cover those Wi-Fi extenders for your students in your city, to cover those 2,700 plus families. So that does bring us to the end of our presentation and our update. We know that was a lot of information. This is your first meeting. But if you have questions, we'd be happy to answer them, or we'd be happy to come back and update you whenever you'd like.
Does anyone have, first I want to thank you. I mean, this is an amazing project and we're very grateful. Really, it's wonderful. Does anyone have any questions?
I just wanted to thank all the people participating in the Education Foundation. The city of Lake Worth is contributing cash in terms of electric and utility pole usage.
Right.
It shows what we can do when we cooperate. I just want to make sure that the middle school and the high school, I didn't see it in writing. Yeah. It's in writing somewhere, right?
Yeah, Lake Worth High School has actually been connected via fiber for several years.
Okay.
Lake Worth Middle School is in the process of having the fiber built to it right now. We're using primarily the elementary schools as the primary launch points because the attendance boundaries for elementary schools tend to have a larger, more comprehensive coverage area than the other schools. So we start with the elementary schools and use the other schools as needed.
Great. Thank
Any other comments or questions?
Thank you for your hard work.
Yeah, thank you so much for all your hard work. And I was just curious, I don't know if I missed it, if we had about an approximate timeline, like when we think that we're going to be up and running?
So we intend to have all the radios installed within the next 2 weeks,
Wow.
2 to 3 weeks. But it's the kicker is we have to get the fiber installed. So that will likely take us for another 4 to 6 weeks to get the fiber installed, connected, and operational. We are actually starting to light up the first areas now just south of Barton Elementary. And I realize that's not within the Lake Worth municipal limits, but that's where the first test bed area is going to be. And then we're going to be moving north from there.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Really, it's great.
May I just say one more thing before I sign off?
Sure.
I want to thank you again, Mayor, and the commission for your very kind words about the Education Foundation. Shh. The new Education Foundation offices are going to be in your municipality. We're going to be neighbors.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome. A welcome basket. Thank you. That's wonderful. No, it's a great place. I have a light. I see a light.
Madam Mayor,
Please.
thank you very much. I just wanted to clarify, I think Mr. Miller maybe didn't expand on this, and I appreciate Commissioner Robinson. The city of Lake Worth Beach can be very proud because unlike the rest of the county, we have our own electric utility.
Right.
And there's an agreement early on that the electric utility really wanted to participate by allowing them to use that infrastructure. So readily, the 44 poles, which had a value if it had been a for-profit, about $64,000 a year in fees, made those available. So while it wasn't mentioned, you are already participating as a city. And we're also working internally as staff to bring forward some surplus laptop computers that meet their criteria that will come to you for surplusing that will be turned over to the school district for our kids as well. So, and if there's any other concepts and ideas that y'all want us to pursue, but I just wanted to make sure that they didn't mention that, but we're already heavily into this idea of supporting the Wi-Fi, and based on your enthusiasm, it's a good place to be.
Yeah, and I think we all recognize that a lot of the groundwork has been laid, before we got here. I want to thank whoever was responsible for the.
Was part of it.
Yeah, no, it's great. Mr. McVoy?
Yeah, I just want to volunteer that it's a wonderful project. I'm very happy to see it, and would volunteer to do some of the outreach into the communities that I have connection to that are very much affected by that.
Great. Thank you so much. We'll do our best to help you.
Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Madam Clerk?
Madam Mayor, you can move on to item B under presentations.
Thank you. Looking for a little guidance here, ma'am.
I will absolutely help out any way I can. You're doing a good job.
Thank you. Well, the next on presentations is a proclamation declaring April 9th, 2021 as the Lord's Place Sleep Out Homelessness Awareness Day. And I believe we have Diana Stanley on, is she going to be here with us tonight some way? Madam Clerk?
Keith, do you have Diana Stanley?
Yep, 1 second.
Great, thank you.
The joys of technology.
I know.
Hello,
Oh,
I'm here.
Hi.
Hi, how's everybody?
Okay, there you go.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us who you are?
Sure,
Yeah, thank
sure.
you.
So
There we go.
there, am I still on? I can't see myself, so I'm assuming I'm on.
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you. My name is Diana Stanley, and I am the CEO at the Lord's Place. And I'm just so proud to be here tonight. First of all, congratulations to all of you. We're excited to see the future of the Lake Worth Beach. So our best wishes for the future. And we are here tonight as we talk about sleep in for sleep out. For many of you may know that for over 40 years, the Lord's Place has been the leader in providing homeless services to men, women, and children in our community. And we are just thrilled that we have some programs already established in the city of Lake Worth Beach. And it's just an honor to be able to partner with all of you. Our ultimate goal is to make certain that we break the cycle of homelessness, not only for those that are experiencing it today, but for the next generation. So we spend a lot of time working with our youth. We do job training and placement. We also do social enterprises. We have a clinical component. And most recently, we have a prevention program. And that is really to make certain that those who may be experiencing or at risk of experiencing homelessness because of the possibility of the moratorium being lifted, we are going to be ready to respond to that. So I'm very grateful to be here tonight and grateful that we can have the proclamation for Sleep In for Sleep Out, which has been our signature fundraising event for over 14 years.
Right. Thank you very much. And for all the work that the Lord's Place done in Palm Beach County is wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm going to read a proclamation now.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to take my mask off. Whoa. Whereas homelessness is a serious social and economic issue impacting all levels of our society. And whereas the city of Lake Worth Beach and the Lord's Place recognize that all people deserve respect and a place to call home. And whereas the city of Lake Worth Beach and the Lord's Place are partners in providing that respect and pathway to a brighter future for men, women, and families who are homeless in our community. And whereas the city of Lake Worth Beach extends its appreciation to the Lord's Place for its leadership on this critical social issue and its wide array of successful programs and services changing the lives of the homeless one life at a time. And whereas the 14th annual Sleep In for Sleep Out to End Homelessness event will be held on Friday, April 9th through Saturday morning, April 10th, to raise awareness about homelessness and to raise funds to help the Lord's Place end homelessness for men, women, and families in our community. And whereas the Lord's Place will host this event in a virtual format to follow COVID-19 restrictions and encourages everyone in the community to sleep in their home or backyard so as many people as possible can participate. And whereas the mission of the Lord's Place is to break the cycle of homelessness by providing innovative, compassionate, and effective services to men, women, and children in our community, it's a lot of reading. Now, therefore, I, Betty Resch, Mayor of the City of Lake Worth, Florida, by virtue of the authority invested in me, do hereby proclaim April 9th, 2021 as the Lord's Place Sleep In for Sleep Out Homelessness Awareness Day. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. So appreciate it. Hope you all join us that night. The program begins 7 p.m. virtual. So would love to have you be part of that. Thank you so much.
Will there be a link to find it?
There is. There'll be one on our website. And so you can just go, it's about a 35 minute program. And at the end, we actually have a candlelight ceremony. So we will invite you to light a candle. And it is our way of making a commitment to the homeless in our community that we are going to work endlessly to make sure that every single person has a place to call home.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we have another proclamation. And this is for the Vietnam War. And I'm going to read this. Whereas more than 3 million men and women from across the United States of America answered the call to service over the course of the 13 years of the Vietnam War. And whereas 58,220 United States service members made the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty to their country during the Vietnam War. And whereas the city of Lake Worth Beach residents among those service members killed in action in the Vietnam War include Arlen Jackson Duckett Jr., United States Marine Corps, killed February 23rd, 1966. Don Lee Unger, United States Air Force, killed May 3rd, 1972. Ismael Solis, United States Army, killed May 9th, 1969. Jack Rockwood Harvey, United States Air Force, killed November 28th, 1972. Raymond Patrick Riley, United States Marine Corps, killed August 29th, 1968. Thomas Edward Shepard, United States Navy, killed November 22nd, 1968. Walter Edward Germain II, United States Marine Corps, killed April 16th, 1969. And whereas by the end of the conflict, 2,646 United States service members were reported as missing. And as of today, 1,647 remain unaccounted for as a result of the response to our nation's call during the Vietnam War. And whereas many veterans of the Vietnam War and their families continue to cope with the physical and mental scars suffered as a result of their service to our nation, and whereas the Vietnam War Veterans Recognition Act of 2017 officially designated March 29th as the annual Vietnam War Veterans Day, and whereas the soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines who returned from Vietnam were never accorded the recognition and praise that was routinely given returning servicemen and women in earlier wars, and whereas it is especially important that the extraordinary contributions of America's Vietnam War veterans and the sacrifice of their families be remembered and recognized. And whereas the City of Lake Worth Beach recognizes the courage of the men and the women who served, and whereas the City of Lake Worth Beach has partnered with Lake Worth High School Air Force Junior ROTC Brigade to commemorate the service, valor, and sacrifice made by those who responded to the call to duty during the Vietnam War. Now, therefore, I, Betty Resch, Mayor of the City of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, by virtue of the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim March 29th, 2021 as a day of recognition and gratitude to all who served in uniform during the Vietnam conflict and all who acted as the home front for those in uniform, and commend its observance to all citizens of the City of Lake Worth Beach to join this commission in expressing appreciation for. In witness whereof, I have set my hand and seal and caused the seal of the City of Lake Worth to be affixed this 25th day of March, 2021. It was such a difficult time for our country. And I'm so glad that those folks are getting the recognition that they, like it or not, they served, and they need to be treated well.
Mayor. Can I just follow up with that the families of the people lost, 55 and more, 1,000 of them need to be recognized as well. And the civilians, the Vietnamese civilians that died for a war that obviously was not understood in this country or around the world. And it's difficult for me, having served, to celebrate war. And I respect the sacrifices that were made. Thank you.
Thank you. Whew. Okay, we're on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to pass the consent agenda as amended?
Madam Mayor, you have commission liaison reports
I
and
forgot that
comments
whole
have to
thing.
go first, and then public participation.
Thank you. Sorry about that. So public participation of non-agenda items and
First commission.
and the commission comments. Thank you. And let's just start numerically. So, Ms. Malenga, District 1, do you have any comments?
District 1, that's going to take me some time to get used to.
I know.
Thank you. It's been a busy 2 weeks since I was very graciously won the District 2 City Commission since March 9th. I've been very busy. I have attended the Bryant Park Neighborhood Association meeting via Zoom, which was very well attended, as well as the Mango Groves Neighborhood Association, again via Zoom. They're not live yet. Healthy Lake Worth Beach Steering Committee, I've been involved with for a long time. We had our semi-monthly steering committee meeting. We are looking for more steering committee members. And I put some information on Facebook about that, but please reach out to Carmel for the Healthier Lake Worth Beach initiative. We're looking for more bodies and more like-minded people. Our motto is many heads, hands, and hearts working together for a better Lake Worth. So please, if you're interested, get in touch with Carmel. I went down to the Unity Wall last Saturday and dropped off some more paint supplies. They are still looking for artists for the Unity Wall. We have 109 spots, I think was the total. And we still have, I think, 56 spots that are open for artists who are interested in coming in. It is every Saturday the same 6 people setting up every morning and tearing down every afternoon. So if you feel like you have some energy on a Saturday morning and you want to come down to the Unity Wall on Wingfield and pitch in to help set up or tear down, they greatly appreciate it. Tuesday's food drive, which former Commissioner Andy Amoroso was very instrumental in at the Hatch Building, has been taking place, but we are going to switch gears starting in April. I believe we're going to go to twice a month instead of every month, just because it's hard to get the same volunteers out there. It does cost the city about $9,000 a month in staffing to set up, take down, and to pay the staff to be there and close the roads and all the back work that goes behind. So I know there's going to be I guess an announcement. Mike, have we decided which Tuesdays that's going to be?
Madam Mayor, I don't know the details on it, but I'll get that.
Okay. I know Lauren Bennett had reached out to me and said that they were going to switch it up to twice a month versus every Tuesday. So that'll start in April. And my hat goes off to Commissioner Andy Amoroso because it was hard work for 12 months. He was out there every Tuesday with the same volunteers week in and week out, and slinging boxes and unpacking food and making sure that the people in our community and surrounding communities get fed. So we want to continue that initiative. Community project funding, we had a Zoom call 2 days ago with Congresswoman Lois Frankel and some of the funding that's coming down from the state pipeline, and finding out what pillars we can find and where we can grab some of those funds that are coming down. Unfortunately, they didn't give us a whole bunch of notice. It was March 29th, and they have extended it to April 9th for us to have a shovel-ready project to go in the ground. So we're working diligently to find some projects that will fit that. I'm hoping that we can bring back some of the things that the CRA has done, just dust them off, change some dates, and because those are already considered shovel-ready projects that have been proven, and maybe those will fit some of the pillars for the community project funding. So we're hopeful on that. I had a meeting this morning for 2 hours on that, and hopefully we'll have more coming soon in regards to that. And I also attended the Palm Beach County League of Cities meeting via Zoom. Never been to one of those. It was interesting to see all the workings behind. You know, you hear everybody say, I went to all these meetings, and then you're on them and you're like, wow, your mind just swims. So my hats go off to the former commission that was here. I would like to take a few minutes and just ask the public, the residents, the business owners, you voted, you elected us as your new dais. Thank you for that. But please give us 6 months to get our feet wet, find all the projects, the balls that are in motion, reprioritize where it needs to be, listen to the residents and the business owners, and give staff at the city a little leniency, especially on social media. There has been a lot more happening behind the scenes than what anybody really knew. They have held this city up during a pandemic, during a media frenzy of things that happened a year ago. And a lot of that fell on the staff's shoulders. And, you know, the current dais that was here, they weren't always at the helm and directing the staff on how to navigate the waters, right? So this is my public plea. Let's all be nice and give the staff and the city and the CRA and us 6 months to show you what we can all do when we work together. Okay, that's my plea tonight. And thank you for getting me here. And I look forward to serving everybody. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Boy?
Well, since I started, 45 minutes ago or so?
What have you done?
Yeah, I'm
48, slacker.
I'm gonna echo Commissioner Malega's, give us a little bit of time. But I would like to use some of my liaison or commissioner comments to share some of what I learned going around the city, because when I was campaigning, the campaigning is uninteresting, but learning what people cared about in the city, I think, is something that we all want to be aware of. And I echo Commissioner Malega's comments that sometimes things under the previous commission didn't quite go in the direction that we were hearing around the city. It'll take us a little while to try and work with that. I also echo the comment that I'm sure it was not always easy for staff, that at times probably wanted to do certain things knowing that the community wanted it, and we're not being given that direction. So be patient with all of us. We will try to bring it closer into alignment with what we're hearing from the community. Some specifics. I heard a lot of appreciation for the progress on the roads However, and progress on traffic calming, that there is quite a bit of traffic calming out, but we're still hearing a lot that we're not quite done. There are places that need additional work. 6th Avenue South seems to be a particular area that we probably have to revisit. And with the roads, I have yet to learn exactly where we are in the finances, how much more we can do. I suspect that we're kind of down toward the bottom of the bucket on the funds. So be patient with us and what we can do, but we'll, I'm sure, learn more from staff on that. With the electric utilities, one heard from the previous commission a lot of comment on how we've brought our prices and our rates to be compatible with FP&L, which probably is a good thing. However, I will tell you from many years of having been out in the community and talking to residents, the issue of bills being very high, people don't talk about price, they don't talk about 10 cents a kilowatt hour or anything else, they talk about their bill. The concern about high bills to the point of people being willing not to continue living here, to get out of Lake Worth, I heard almost as much as I've heard in the past. And that to me tells me that we need to go a bit different direction. It's not the price that's the issue, it's the size of the bill. It's combining the water with the sewer and the electric all in one. I'll have some proposals on that in future meetings. And it's that we really, really, really need to work on energy conservation and education so that people understand why they're getting the bills that they are, and we're doing as much as possible. Another area that I heard a lot of interest in was renewable energy. People are really fired up about the idea that Lake Worth as a coastal city needs to be a leader. There's very ambivalent feelings about our electric utility, but there's a feeling out there that we could be a state and national leader, and we should be, and we haven't been. There is, in fact, noticeable anger at people who went through the experience of trying to do solar with the city. That bothers me a lot, and that's something I'm going to be pushing on very hard. One of the last things I did when I was on 5 years ago, whatever it was get us signed up for a federal program that was supposed to reduce some of the paperwork, logistic barriers to solar. I don't know where we are on that, but we need to be doing everything possible on that. We are in a situation on the planet that we don't have time to mess around. We need to be moving forward full speed ahead on that. Code enforcement, another area that I can't tell you, one of those stories, if I got a nickel for every time I heard the story of, hey, at my house, look at my house, my yard, looks pretty good. Look at that one over there, doesn't look so good. You agree? Yeah, I agree. Who's getting hit by code enforcement? The one that looks nicer? And I suspect that part of what's going on, although I don't know, is that some of that is code enforcement, whatever the training is that's been given or the direction is, go after the people who you think will pay up. What that does in our community, because for a lot of people, a lot of residents, the face of the city is code enforcement. And when you get the sense that code enforcement is unfair, going after the wrong people, going after things that don't make sense and aren't that big a deal, when there are things that really need attention in the neighborhood, that undermines faith in this city's government. I will be working very hard for a more cooperative approach, not the right and sight approach, not a money making for the city approach. So those are things that some of the things I heard from around the city. Thank you.
You've only been here 45 minutes.
Well, when you campaign around the city, you learn and you actually.
Thank you, Commissioner McCoy. Thank you, Commissioner McCoy.
There you go.
Ms. Jones.
Hi, yes.
I told you I was going to give you.
Yes, it's been about, I don't know, a week or two since I've been sworn in. And so I've been busy trying to get caught up and meet with the staff. I spent 2 hours with our utilities director, and it was a very enlightening conversation. I love having all this. So I go, Chris, and what he echoed with Sarah is to be patient with us, give us some time. We have a lot to learn, but we're all, I think I can speak for all of us, very enthusiastic to learn it. And staff has been very enthusiastic to share their knowledge with us. So I don't have a ton to report on. A lot of that just onboarding happening behind the scenes. I did get to go to the College Park blood drive off of Spillway Park last weekend, and that was really successful. They seem to have a good turnout, and they would love to come back anytime that we invite them, and their blood does stay locally and help people within our community. So that's always great. One thing that did happen recently, I am saddened by the events in Atlanta. And I'm hoping that the commission, we can work together to come up with a response to that, because it's always really hard on any community when they experience like loss of life at senseless gun violence. So I'm hoping that we can continue moving forward and addressing any kind of white supremacy that's still alive in our country, racism, any attacks against a certain group of people for whatever reason. So I'm looking forward to figuring out what we can do as a city to support the members of all the different communities that are affected by these issues. So my heart goes out to those families and that community. I believe we'll be having a rally in city, well, it's not us, but the Bangladeshi Club will be having a rally to support the Asian Americans who have been experiencing increased hate since the COVID epidemic began. We're seeing those numbers go up, and that's very sad. So I'm happy to support anybody's efforts in supporting our Asian American brothers and sisters. So that's about it for me.
Thanks.
Good. Well, I want to congratulate everybody for getting elected and thank the candidates that ran in the general election and demonstrated democracy at its best. And I'm proud of Lake Worth Beach. We could have had a better turnout, so it's important to vote. But it was successful for moving forward. I look forward to what Commissioner Stokes was referring to was the divisiveness that is so easily stoked by I'm going to call it childish name calling almost, and when we can't recognize the differences and be civil. That's what I look forward to on this dais is an exchange of civility and building a better Lake Worth. I love to hear the question when tonight. I'm patient, but I think we're all very aware of why we got elected, and I don't want to say 6 months is too long, but let's not be too patient with moving forward. I think we're energized, the community's energized, and ready to go. Looking forward to the charter review committee applications I have. The city clerk has them. Education, I know, is important, and it was important. It will be important. It's working with the school board demonstrates what we can do to working together. And I think with the talent that came forward actually in participating in the election demonstrates that Lake Worth is really has a depth of talent, and we need to use that talent. The meeting about parking in downtown, the street dining, I hope that the merchants are all notified of that meeting and are given a chance to participate. I want to thank PBSO for having their soccer tournament at Memorial Park. The Leisure Services is doing a soccer camp for 10 weeks. And I would like to say that there's 2 scholarships available for that soccer camp for a student that demonstrates their interest in higher grades and better attendance. So I will get with Lauren and I will establish at least 2 scholarships for 2 students for the soccer program, and maybe demonstrate that we will need in the near future, an additional 1 or 2 soccer fields, maybe in the Northwest Ball Fields or another one at the Osborne, rather than Bryant Park. Although it's a beautiful place to play soccer, it wasn't established for that. The Street Waves and Urban Aquatics expressed Monday night. I look forward
I'll talk
to
about that.
You're going to, good. Take it away, Mayor. Because we do expect to address this pool issue that's been kicking around for too long without it moving forward. We are raising our standards in Lake Worth. Code Department needs to prioritize, but everybody is going to appreciate a cleaner, more code compliant city. Maybe somewhere in all the money that we're getting or the money that CRA has to establish a fund to work towards conservation of energy. I know that there are a lot of homes that are very inefficient. And I know it's harder to deal in hundreds of dollars when we can dole out tens of thousands, but there is a payback for limited funds to improve efficiency. The CRA has a folder out that really demonstrates the past, their present, and what the projects they're working on. The community needs to be involved and be aware of the success of the CRA, but it also needs to have input into the CRA. And I'm very interested in them being responsive to the city's opinions. Everybody's got one, but we need to work together. Finally, the holidays are coming up. I want to wish everybody a happy Easter and a joyous Passover. And again, I'm looking forward to the energy and sitting up here is a joy working with staff, and they're good. Let's make us all better. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have so much to say. And first thing I want to do is thank everyone that helped get us up here. There were so many volunteers, so much work went out in the streets. Cannot thank everyone enough. And I want to thank the staff. They've got 4 new folks up here. They're being very patient with us and teaching us things. And the enthusiasm of staff is really exciting, and we thank you. All of you out there, we thank you. I spoke at the Bryant Park. I was the guest speaker. Your turn is coming. And it was really great. It was a good turnout. They, a lot of interesting questions. And, one thing I think we've all gotten is that over the past couple of months, as we're walking and knocking on doors and listening to people, there are some mutual concerns that will all come out that we're all now aware of and we need to work on. One of them is the Gulf Stream. I had the pleasure of speaking with Mr. Gill the day after I was sworn in. He's the developer for the Gulf Stream. And I was very encouraged by what he had to say about his idea about, it seems to be moving forward. They're going to be coming to the city to ask for some things, and we will certainly listen to them. Everyone wants to make the Gulf Stream open. I told him I used to stay at the Gulf Stream. I can't wait to have a drink with him at the Gulf Stream. It's the most exciting thing that can happen. And from our lips to God's ears, this thing is going to happen. One thing I did say to him was that one of the not concern, but one of the things I would ask him, that we would ask him, is that as construction goes on and as he, populates with workers his project, that he uses as many local Lake Worth Beach people as possible. Let's keep the money in Lake Worth as much as we possibly can. He assured me that that's part of his company seems to have a philosophy, and that was their philosophy, is to work with the local people and to encourage. He said the one project they have, every employee lives within 2 miles of the project, and that's great. I mean, that's 2 miles. That's right here. So, more about that is going to come up on the agenda. I'm sure. I assured him that I had not heard one word of obstruction, that we all want it to happen, that there's nobody saying it shouldn't happen, and that he's going to get the cooperation from the new sitting commission. I hope I didn't speak out of turn. I'm working on one of the ideas that I had when we did the centennial celebration a few years ago. One of the best events we had was the International Day. It was just great. It was at the Cultural Plaza. We had many different international groups there dancing and music, and it was just a great time. I want to expand on that, and not just international, but I want. And I've spoken with Lauren and Ben already, just the idea of it during the season, during the winter, we have time to study, to prepare, would be not a day of international, but our Lake Worth celebrates a day of diversity. We have the diversity of nationalities. We have the diversity of lifestyles. So I'm thinking, during the day, it would be, the international stuff and the food and the dancing and the music. And then as we got into the night, we could have the drag shows. So I want to include everybody in this day. So that's one thing I want us, to be working for. I met with Erica Whitfield from the school board. She's very excited about the new commission. I assured her, again, we have people that are parents, we have people that are foster parents, we have people that are I don't have any children, but I'm really committed to the idea of great education. And our schools have been the sort of redheaded stepchildren of the Palm Beach County School District. And I think.
Excuse me, diversity. Redheaded.
Oh, did I offend you? Oh, stop. That we.
Gotta have fun.
I've been a stepchild. I've been there. And that we talked with the education committee, and one thing that she would like us to do is that each of us commissioners dedicate to going to the schools in their district to participate in the SAT, to meet the people. It shouldn't be just the mayor meeting with the principals. We can all pat ourselves on the back and say what a great job we're doing. But I think that we need to hear from the parents in our communities. And I would ask the commissioners, take a district, some have more schools than others, to reach out to the schools and to work with the schools. I'll be meeting with Dr. Epps and Erica very soon about the Lake Worth High School. We know that we have a graduate of Lake Worth High School, former cheerleader in Ms. Stokes.
Homecoming.
I'm a great, homecoming. I'm a great supporter of our Lake, for whatever reason. I love the Lake Worth High School marching band. We have an amazing woman leading that. She started out, Tiffany Cox is her name. She started out with 16 kids a few years ago, and now she's up to over 60. And for the first time, the Lake Worth High School band was invited to participate and compete in the state competition. And that was last year in Daytona Beach. So the kids had a weekend. It was fun. I went up to see them and to support them, and gave the teachers a little party afterwards because they worked so hard. So we need to keep that kind of support. Those kids in our schools are our citizens of tomorrow. They need to feel welcomed and appreciated. And I don't care if they don't start out speaking English. We've got to get them. This is their home. And we need to make them feel welcome and a part of our community and reach out to them more than has ever been done. So, and Erica's very excited about that. I also reminded her that they're getting a lot of money, and we want some of it for our schools. So she was very, very, very enthusiastic. So that's going to be a great partnership, I think. And that's, that's as grassroots as you can get. Okay, let's see. April, shovel ready. I don't know what that, okay. I also listened to the League of Cities meeting yesterday, and they need to go on Zoom. It was a nightmare. I can't believe it. You couldn't see anybody. And the whole thing was about FP&L. It was really funny. It was like a pep show for FP&L. I was like, yeah, okay, fine, let's go home now. Committees, we're talking about a real education committee. We're talking about small business committee. We need to talk about Dixie Highway. It's all not just about downtown. Dixie Highway, I mean, I've lived here a long time. It's sad. It's a sad place to drive down. And even, you know, I'm a visual person. Let's plant some trees. Let's just start with making it look better. But we also need to look at the zoning. We need to look at the height limits. We need to, and we have small business people here. We have educators. We have small business people. We have scientists. We've got Herman. You know, we love you, Herman. We're all good at something. So I really see our commission with, you know, the kind of, you know, the educational level that we have up here now, the experiential level that we have up here is really exciting. And the community is excited, but we really need to look at Dixie Highway and how are we helping the small businesses in the city? You know, it's hard. Retail, dramatic change. First, you know, in the 80s, the malls sucked the life. I mean, I was here when we had fountains and we had, you know, we were all here and we had stores. But every little town in America is suffering the same thing. Every little town in America, not even just the towns, the big cities have to figure out, what do we do now? First, it was the malls that sucked the life out, and now it's Amazon. And God knows I love to order on Amazon. But what do we do with all those empty storefronts? We have a situation in Lake Worth where apparently there's one family that owns about at least 42 properties, sort of holding our city hostage. You know, fine for them, but they're hurting us. And I think we need to look at what legal things we can do to encourage them not to be empty. And I would ask for a little bit of that from the attorney. And just to get them to participate, even if we start out letting us use the storefronts for high school art projects or paint this something. It just looks sad right now. We've got the Lucerne, that wonderful building that everyone loved. Or not. So I wasn't a big fan, but is now the first floor is empty retail. So, you know, and with the CRA, you know, the CRA does wonderful things, but do we need more empty retail downtown? We're going to be talking about CRA projects at greater length later. Years ago, in terms of customer service, one of the things that I heard out there is, you know, when you call the city, you get an answering machine. And I think that we need to really ramp up our customer service. That's something that I'm very, very enthusiastic and strong about. We need to, when somebody calls, there needs to be somebody to pick up the phone. I happen to like our electric. I don't have a lot of complaints about it. Our rates are lower. I don't know what else we can do, but the customer service, and I've already told staff about this, horrible. They're not nice, and the billing is not correct. So these are things we can fix. Years ago, we had a municipal institute. I don't know if anybody participated in that years ago. It was wonderful. It was a group which went, you were volunteered to do. It was like an 8-week program. That's how I met Erica Whitfield when she was pregnant with her first child. And one week you'd go to the public works, and one we'd go to, well, wasn't, you know, building department, and you really learned how these things worked, and you saw how they looked at, you know, they put the camera down the pipes and stuff. It was great. And now we have the availability. That was a long time ago. Now we can film it. Now we can show it on YouTube. So not just the people that participate in it, but everybody can see it. One thing I've learned is if you have you know, I can sit and think, oh, what about that? What about that? But once you get information about it and you understand why things are happening, it's much better you can assess things a little more fairly. So I want all of us to know what happens when you make a phone call. And what happens, how does the city run? And I think people will be responsive to that. We also had CERT training, got certified emergency residential something, where it was so geeky. We learned how to work after hurricanes. We all had our packages and we knew how to mark, you know, go into a house and mark the house, whether there was a dead body. I mean, it was really very intensive. And then all the hurricanes stopped. So we had little hard hats. It was great. We had a backpack with all our stuff. I'd like to see something like that come up again. Code enforcement. I have a lot to say about code enforcement. I won't bore you with it today. Some of you know that I am a private attorney, and I have worked with many, many citizens who have had involvement with the code enforcement department. I have a lot to say about it. I'm going to be coming back with more on that. We need to be consistent. We need to not be punitive. We need to, I have seen so many unfair things happen with my clients that I just, everyone says, well, we need to improve code enforcement. And we do. When I worked for the city years ago, I was very aggressive with code enforcement. We went out one night a week and we did night inspections and we tore down buildings and I think the law has changed a little bit. We closed down, I was crack at that time. We closed down crack houses. We were very, very efficient and very aggressive about it. But we were kind to the people that lived there. And so code is sort of one of the things that I have a special place in my heart for. The Asian, as Kim mentioned, on April 3rd, from 12 to 3 at City Hall, on the steps of City Hall, we've been approached. We have in Lake Worth Beach a Bangladesh community. Who knew? I've met them. And as a matter of fact, they were at our swearing in at Bryant Park, and there's a little clip, and I can't figure out how to share it. There's a little clip from the Bangladesh TV talking about the swearing in at Lake Worth. We're all on it. And it showed on the biggest TV station in Bangladesh. And also every Bangladesh, there's cable Bangladesh, different cable programs. It went all over the United States. So we've started out with some really positive. I couldn't understand a word they said, but it was very positive and with, again, inclusiveness. So it was very fun. So April 3rd, speak out against violence against Asians, and I would love us all to participate. April 3rd at 12 o'clock on the City Hall steps. I know I'm going on. I'm going to apologize to you, Chris. Urban aquatic, diverse, one last thing. Diversity in aquatics, I was approached by a man, Thaddeus, and I can't remember his last name, but I can't forget the first name. He runs a group called Diversity in Aquatics. And their thing is about getting our underprivileged kids to learn how to swim, to, drowning prevention, that sort of thing. And when we have a pool, we can do it right here. But there are pools available in the area, like down on Lake Worth Road, the rehab, rehab, I forget the name of it. But there's a big, nice pool. We've got the high school pool. And listen to this, once they learn how to swim, there's a group called the Street Waves. And it's run by a guy named Maui Goodbeer. And he was at the meeting, they were at the meeting on Monday night with, and he teaches our underprivileged kids how to surf. So we get the kids comfortable in the water and we take them to the beach that some of them have never been to, right, and teach them how to surf. What wonderful thing we can do in terms of who's Lake Worth? We're the town, we're the city that helps our kids learn how to surf. I love it. I'm going on too fast, too long. I thank everybody again for the staff and the voters and everyone that helped us get elected. Thank you. That's all from me. So I think we have some public participation.
Madam Mayor, we do, and I'm setting the 3-minute timer. And then I've got comments after the people in the chamber read.
Okay, I have 4 blue cards.
Is it public comment?
4, number 4.
There you go.
It's 3-minute time limit. I'm glad I don't have that. Okay, first up, Tammy Panza.
But I hope everybody can hear me. First of all, I want to thank everybody for taking up the thankless job of being commissioner and mayors, and it's going to be a big change, I think. I wanted to say a couple of things that are on my mind. The website, I'm thankful that it's continuing to increase, and the way that people look up things nowadays isn't in an encyclopedia, it isn't in the library. It's not walking up into the city hall and looking at papers on the wall, it's social media. Please continue to flesh out the website. Please get the old archives up. Please make them PDF readable by agenda item, so it's easier for someone to look up. And please get your schedule together with the calendar so that if you go to a day on the calendar, it's not just a blank thing. It can actually link to, hey, this is what's going on this day. Right. And I'd like to see city businesses, a list of city businesses, so that they can be contacted as well as the residents. I attended the UBSO update that was held down at like Osborne Center. You would be amazed how many people had things to say, like walking to school and walking by a dead body. And then that same person said, oh, District 14, you got to come down to District 14. I'm like, you got to even know what district you're in.
Right.
You don't know who represents you. You don't know who your commissioner is. I'd like to see that start even at a scholastic level so that kids can participate and know what their structure is so that they can teach their parents, you know, how to start recycling at an early age. There's people that we don't even reach in our community that care and they don't know who to reach out to. So maybe they don't get online, maybe, you know, just let's reach out to everybody in every section of every part of the community. And just a quick motion, we do have neighborhood associations and that's lovely, but they are not representative of our city. Some people don't even know that they are in a neighborhood association. Some people have neighborhood associations that are like, there's 3 down there, but nobody does any. So we need to talk to all the people in all the neighborhoods on all of the website. And let's say if you're looking for an update on the roads, and then you put in, oh, what neighborhood are you in? I don't know. Mangrove Groves was one of them for the longest time. So please, thank you for that. I want to also, there's a previous commissioners that don't necessarily appreciate when neighbors come out to do things that care. So I don't want any neighbor who cares to participate in anything that makes this city better to be called entitled, or for someone to say, they just feel like they can come out any day and just say whatever they want. That is not right. And for, let's say, a commissioner to say something particular about, oh, that person owns all these properties when they don't even know that person or what they're doing. Start out with a clean slate. Don't just make
Thank you.
right away. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you, Tammy.
Cliff Colmeyer?
Clock.
Oh, yeah.
This is Cliff Colmeyer, 503 First Avenue South, Lake Worth, and good evening, Madam Mayor and City Commission. Congratulations to you all. You'll have my full support, and thank you for stepping up for this really important role of which is really a civic responsibility. And I know it's sometimes going to be hard, and you'll have our support. I'm not going to throw a lot of problems at you, and hopefully
Thank you.
more solutions than problems. That's the idea of this today. There is a homeless situation, and we've got to do something about it. But I was speaking to a neighbor this morning about the building next door, which is across the street from me, where there are vacant buildings where the homeless people, God bless them, they need a place to stay, but it's becoming kind of a, potentially violent situation where, at the L&M Street. And I want to see if we can head this off in the future, because currently you can't demolish or remove a historic building without a COI or certificate of occupancy. But maybe they shouldn't evict people before there's an RFP or a COI, because what's happened here with these buildings, the engineering report said they were habitable 3 years ago. They were taxable. We were getting property tax from these buildings. Now they are deteriorating. They're empty. They're not earning revenue. And they are, in fact, a blight on the neighborhood. Now, this isn't because of citizens' obstruction. They removed the tenants before the RFP even went out. Yeah. So it's like, we don't want to be landlords, but we're going to evict these people anyway and wait to see what happens. And so to prevent this from happening, maybe there ought to be an ordinance that we don't evict people. I don't know how this would play out legally, but to not remove people until you've got a COI for the new project, which is one step beyond not being able to demolish. If you could maybe keep them occupied and keep collecting the tax money and keep the buildings going until there is, some kind of a project to replace it. So
thank you.
That's all I had to say. And, oh, by the way, the CRA has just acquired another property on 604 First Avenue South in my neighborhood. And hopefully the same thing won't happen to it because it's occupied now. And I don't want that to be emptied out before they have a plan. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. And I have a comment on that, Cliff. It's our neighborhood. I'm in the same neighborhood. My life is like between Lake Avenue and Second Avenue South. And they've actually created blight in our neighborhood. The fences are falling down. There were people that were living there that were using our water. They were using our electricity, and they were evicted. And now we have a big, blank, dark spot in the middle of my neighborhood, in the middle of downtown, actually. And so I completely agree with you. I thought it was a very unfortunate decision that they did that. And I'm a little annoyed that they have now created blight in my neighborhood, which is sort of not the intent I'm thinking of the CRA. So thank you.
Exactly. Thank you.
Todd Townsend.
Madam Mayor, can I just piggyback on that? Again, I'm just going to reiterate that the CRA took direction from a previous staff and previous commissioners that may not be here. So that's why in the beginning I asked for, reprieve to try to make up for the things that happened. Because we don't always know where that direction came from and whose bigger picture or implementation of city planning that was, right? So they get direction, they follow. So I'll be patient, but I hear what you're saying loud and clear. I had a conversation for 2 hours about those projects today, so.
I'm a little less patient. Todd, and how do you say your last name?
Townsend.
Townsend, okay, thank you.
No problem. Well, it's great to be back here at Gibraltar, folks, right? Inside Gibraltar. I just wanted to see if we could just get the commission to shoot down the CRA's idea of building that awful building that they keep proposing right next to 2J's, M and Lake Ave there, because that's only going to create chaos with the parking that we do have behind all of the shops there, with on that side of the street there, and that would the CRA is trying to underhandedly, they want to build that and then ruin the continuity that we do have with the small bit of parking that we do have back there, so that they can then be forced to build us a 4 or 5 story parking garage that nobody wants. Nobody wants a parking garage looking down into their backyards downtown. Nobody wants that. So what we need to do, what the space is calling for, is a 1-story parking garage that has ramps onto every street from Federal all the way up to K. And so that, that whole parking area would be 1 level above the ground. So we've got a ground lot, and we've got a 1-level parking garage above that. It's not going to do anything to our skyline. It's going to give us more parking than if we did have a skyscraper parking lot built. I think that's the way to go. And that's all I wanted to say. And I'm really glad to see all these new faces up here. It's a better vibe right off the top. And I think we're going to get a lot of really good stuff done. And I also look forward to individual meetings with all of the commissioners up here about other things. So that's it. Thank you. You look great.
Thank you.
Hard.
We're doing our best.
Got to have a little fun around here. It may as well be us.
Why not, right? And Marshall, pass. You're up.
Evening, all commissioners. You should know that this is maybe my 5th time ever that I've actually come up and spoken. You've been here the whole time, just about that.
Hard to believe, Marshall.
Rarity, yes, but because with me, it's all out there. Just wanted to congratulate you all.
Thank you.
The new energy, things change. It's always, I look at it always a good thing. Anybody that wants to run for office, people have asked me many times, you're running, Mark. No, I would never want this. You all do, and I congratulate and applaud you all for that, and I wish you all well. You came, Madam Commissioner, Madam Mayor, missed you.
Sorry.
You missed, you watched the video. And of course, Herman, who's our one and only liaison from the city, but also started Bryant Park Neighborhood Association, right? And the raft race, and a few other things. So, in any case, and Commissioner Boy will have you as well, 1 and 2. Next month, we do have Sarah Park coming, 4th Monday of the month, 7 o'clock. We'll be at the Beach Club eventually. For now, it's soon. It's on our Facebook page. I'm also on the board of the NEPC. we intend to have you, Madam Mayor, come and talk to us soon. Just have to make those, I can't speak for them all. But, I would like to just a quick note mention, talk was just made briefly about the individual neighborhoods and how people know or don't know or if they actually exist. That's not your problem. That's not your issue. However, you being a city, you were Roy Poinciana 3 years, you know very well. Herman, you know very well. And Carla Bloxon was just up there, also knows very well. It's a difficult thing. So if I take a moment and just tell everybody out there in internet land, there are 16, I believe, neighborhood associations. One of them, member associations in the NAPC, Neighborhood Association President's Council. Their email, napcinfo@gmail.com, if you'd like to know more. They have a Facebook page and a website. If you care to go to it, please look it up. They will show you a map, which is done through the GIS of the city system. They can find out what neighborhood they're in. I believe we've got most of it now currently up to date of when they meet, where they meet, et cetera, although it's been a challenge this past year. But for those that are out there, if you want to get involved, if you want to, I won't say the arms of wish, and complain about these folks up here or anything else in this town, whether it's the CRA or anything else, we are here to help with that. Not to go after you, but as you know, you came to our meetings, thank you all, for a nice little social thing, get to know each other, to let you know we're here to support you. Your success is our success. If you have issues, well, you're getting the issues because you're going to hear from us, but you're also going to hear from everybody else wanting to complain, especially, let's say, in Facebook land, which, as most of you know, I had the first page for Lake Worth oriented, and I've got too many to count. There's too many people that like to get in there, and God bless them, they ask questions. Fine, I can help out, but I'll always direct it back to a city website.
Thank you.
Is an issue. Okay, fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Marshall. Any comments?
Madam Mayor, I have several comments that have come in over the internet.
Okay. Do you read them?
I will. The first one is from Matthew Brennan at 602 18th Avenue North. How do the new mayor and commissioners plan to address an uneven code enforcement system that currently creates a sense of unfair targeting and struggles to distinguish between legitimate concerns and unnecessary punishment that could be addressed more equitably? The next comment is from Deidre Walker Purier at 223 South J Street, Apartment 2. Please stop targeting our elders, who many can't afford to defend themselves. Let's be open to the rights of all Lake Worth Beach residents, not just a few. The next comment is from Audrey Locker at 711 North J Street. Good evening. I am concerned about the excessive fines that seniors living at Palm Beach Mobile Home Park are receiving for code enforcement issues. These fines are punitive, and their only purpose is to punish people for being poor. There needs to be a better way to ensure that people are living in safe dwellings that doesn't bankrupt them or force them to move out of Lake Worth Beach. Thank you. This next comment is from Noam Brown at 1701 North D Street. I am commenting today to express my opposition to a practice that's been going on in different incarnations for quite some time now, which is targeting of our lower income residents by code enforcement. The current iteration is targeting those residents in the Palm Beach Mobile Home Park. This is one mobile home park that I recently read about, but I suspect there are other mobile home parks also being targeted. Code enforcement has a history of targeting the lower income among us, and as if it weren't already obvious, it was made obvious by the City Commission workshop a couple of years ago that this type of targeting is part of the gentrifying efforts of some of in our city to change the demographics. Assessing fines and giving short turnaround times to fix code enforcement violation clearly illustrates the divide between those who understand the struggles folks of low income face and those who are financially secure and support these types of code enforcement practices. Let's be clear, this is an attack on poor people, and we need, as a city, to take a more enlightened approach for generating funds. I would suggest the first place to look is at the police budget. The next one, Keith, is from Kara Jennings. She'd like to have her own comments, so if you could let her in, and I'll start the timer when she starts.
Okay, and in the meantime, Madam Clerk, we received a letter from Robert Hartzell. Is that to be read into the record? Or was that just?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I will be reading it next. I'm taking them in order they came in.
Okay.
Kara should be allowed to talk now. She just has to unmute herself. Yep.
Where is she?
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. Congratulations to the new commission. I believe this is a historic moment for Lake Worth with having 4 new commissioners come on at the same time, along with our new mayor. I'm not familiar with this ever happening in recent history. The landslide victories for 3 of you is also historic. We have not had those percentages with that number of votes anytime recently. Some of you I know and admire, and some of you I am just meeting or have disagreed with for years. But this is not about any of you individually. It is about a shared community-wide desire for change. I respect Commissioner Malega's suggestion of a 6-month transition period. However, there are obviously some issues that we just can't wait 6 months to address. The increasing concern about code enforcement being used at the mobile home park near Boutwell, can't wait 6 months for action. Code enforcement in general needs to be put on notice that we expect an overhaul and that their priority should be public health and safety issues, not trivial things such as overgrown foliage, which I was recently cited on. We also have a very serious, questions around the budget. In 6 months, you'll be, close to approving your budget. So I'm looking forward to increased public workshops on the budget. I hope you'll be looking at the PBSO contract, with both a critical eye towards the funding and the policies. I'm looking forward to Commissioner Malega being able to put into practice her body camera initiative that she campaigned on. And then another critical issue is the CRA and the really the gentrification we're about to experience. The Lord's Place talked about issues around the moratorium on evictions that are going to be coming up. Well, we're going to be seeing really serious issues about people being pushed out of housing here with increase of new high-end housing coming in, such as the Lucerne on the west side, also called the Bohemian, which I think is a very problematic project. So these issues, I think, would go in the category of giving attention to sooner the better, as these are really issues that, as you all know, when you went around town, are of great concern to the public. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And this letter is from Heidi Matheny, and she has given an abbreviated version of it, but it's still pretty long, but I set the timer for 3 minutes. Holiday Mobile Home Park provides affordable housing to the residents of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, and would like to formally welcome Mayor Resch and the new commission into its governing role. We trust that you will adhere to the will of the voters by governing with a focus on the future in moving forward to ensure the residents of Lake Worth Beach are being represented fairly and equally, despite social or economic status. There has been an ongoing and systemic pattern of discriminatory behavior towards low-income neighborhoods through an overreach of code enforcement in an overzealous attempt to force out affordable housing that prior commissioners unlawfully believed to be detrimental to the city's preferred demographics, in a grave departure of the oath to faithfully perform all the duties of a commissioner. The voters of Lake Worth Beach hope the new commissioners will stem the unlawful overreach of code enforcement that was utilized by past commissioners to eradicate affordable housing and displace individuals that simply did not have the resources to comply with the continuous and egregious onslaught of violations. Furthermore, the preceding commission utilize land development regulations and rezoning to attempt to put affordable housing out of business, such as Holiday 2 Mobile Home Park, through untenable restrictions on non-conforming uses that fall outside the meaning and intent of the governing codes. LDR section 23.5-3, parens A, parens 3, the Florida Supreme Court has long held that a zoning must be based upon either public health, safety, morals, comfort, convenience, or general welfare, and must not be unreasonably discriminatory. And there is a cite here, I won't read it. Lastly, the unfortunate attempts by the previous commission to deprive the landowners of Holiday 2 Mobile Home Park of their property rights and ability to operate its lawful business is tantamount to a taking. The application of zoning regulations to restrict an existing use of property resulting in substantial diminishing of its value may constitute a taking by the governmental agency which requires the payment of compensation under well-established principles of constitutional law. Again, there's a citing, I won't read it. Restricting our client and preventing it from running its business free from aggressive and discriminatory code compliance will result in a substantial diminishment in value because the purpose of the land is as a mobile home park. Our client, Holiday 2 Mobile Home Park, has the intent to continue to currently use to supply affordable housing to the residents of Lake Worth Beach and is entitled to, by law, to do so. The systemic pattern of discrimination against affordable housing, such as Holiday 2 Mobile Home Park, and the low-income residents that rely upon it, must be put to rest with this new commission. I'm sorry, I can't read any further on that one. The next comment is Pangiagata Sulcus. The city needs to stop finding the mobile home park residents. You can find more information at www.floridabulldogs.org/lake-worth-beach-gentrification-purge-now-targeting-low-income-seniors. The last comment that I have is from Reinaldo Diaz. I have to set the timer, sorry about that. Welcome commissioners as your Lake Worth waterkeeper. I'll go ahead and hit the ground running on a very important issue. If you go to Spillway Park right now, you'll be greeted with a few signs warning of a cyanobacteria bloom in the water. This is a serious concern because cyanobacteria are capable of producing lots of toxic substances, such as hepatotoxins, which destroy our livers. They can also produce BMAA, an amino acid, which research has linked to neurodegenerative illnesses, such as Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and ALS. You don't have to be in the water to be impacted. Research has already proven toxins like BMAA are capable of getting into our bodies from 3+ miles away. Keep in mind, City Hall is 1.9 miles from the spillway. As the commission, you are in a great position to advocate for our community on this matter, and I would like to suggest that you take up this role. In particular, the state is now in the process of updating LOSOM, Lake Okeechobee System Operating Manual, the policy that dictates how Lake Okeechobee water is managed. That matters to us because we, as a community in our Lake Worth Lagoon's eastern half watershed, does not get a cyclobacteria blooms until we take in Lake Okeechobee water. Right now, it looks like the vast majority of options being considered in LOSOM will result in more Lake Okeechobee discharging into the Lake Worth Lagoon. So please consider being an active participant in the LOSOM process to remind the state that the Lake Worth Lagoon has a concerned community and we don't want any Lake Okeechobee discharges, whether now or in the future. This is a critically important matter to address before it becomes more of a problem. It's also a culmination of all important matters: environmental, public health, growth management, social justice, and environmental racism. Thank you. That's the end of the comments that I have under public participation, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I have one request of staff. on the holiday mobile home park. I'd like to know when that zoning changed, when it went from, it's not a pop quiz. I don't expect you to know the answer.
No, I can tell you, it was a land use, I think, issue that was on the future land use map. The zoning, I don't believe, has been changed on any of the mobile home parks. So some of the information that you're hearing is, there's some inaccuracies, and we probably need to have.
Is that they have now become non-conforming uses.
I'd have to go back to staff and.
Yeah, I'm not, it's not a pop quiz.
They can be that zoning, they can stay in that use from here on out.
Well, let's talk. I mean, I think.
As long as they're in business, they can stay.
Yeah, okay. I think this is something that I've been approached by a number of people on this issue as well. And I really want to take a look at it. Whether the land use change, I mean, something happened that this mobile home park is under fire. And I don't know if it's a land use development regulation. I don't know if it's a zoning thing, but I want to find out what it is, because from what I'm hearing, and it may be just, I don't know if this is true. I haven't been there, but what I'm hearing is things are being taken, they can't expand a non-conforming use, that sort of thing. If they're wrong, if they're giving us bad information, we need to know that. But if they're correct, then I think we need to look at it. I am a great fan of mobile home parks. They are places where people that don't have a lot of money can live. And I think, and I think it's very sad that all across Florida, they've been squozing out. They disappear, and those in Jupiter it's happened. And I just think it's a sad thing. So I just want to look at it. I'm asking the staff to address that.
Right.
Thank you. Okay.
May I just say quickly that the people who do have code violations inside that mobile home park, that under Healthier Lake Worth Beach, there's another umbrella, if you will, called Neighbors Helping Neighbors. And there's funding in that, and it's nonprofit. They can email me at smaliga@lakeworthbeachfl.gov for details, but it's Neighbors Helping Neighbors. It's not a big pot, but what we do, and I say we because it's part of the steering committee for the Healthy Lake Worth Beach, is we help people who have small code violations with funding to correct those.
Right.
So what I'm hearing in volumes is that this is older people who may be living on fixed income, who might not have the ability to repair a window or fix the paint. Helping Neighbors is something that we have. There are small coffers there to reach out and to help the community and get through these code small violations if we can.
Thank you. Yep. Commissioner McFoy?
Yes, I'd like to follow up on a couple of the comments that were made on the lagoon one from the Lake Worth Waterkeeper. As I'm sure almost everybody here knows, part of my research is on Everglades restoration. The connection to Lake Okeechobee is that sending water from Lake Okeechobee east is a man-made thing that causes problems to us for the algae. So we do need, I totally agree with Ronaldo that we as a city need to speak up because we have a lot of exposure.
And you're the guy to do it.
I will be happy to help out. On the CRA, I did hear from a lot of people of a lot of concern about the L&M Street project and pushing out historic buildings, evicting people early on and effectively creating blight, as was alluded to. Small businesses, Dixie Highway, one little thing that I would ask staff that and this will probably come up at workshops or things in the future, we have a lot of small businesses in the city, particularly there's a whole bunch west on Lake Worth Road, Lake and Lucerne, that I would like to see some economic study before we do further pushing businesses out. I want to know what the economics of those are and how they contribute to our community. And that will be true of some of the small businesses up and down Dixie Highway too. So let's look into that. On the mobile home concern and the, for lack of a better word, perhaps gentrification of the city using code enforcement to achieve a certain end of income levels for the city. I hear the concern that we are not the wealthiest city and we need sources of income. But I can tell you, it's not just the Holiday 2 mobile home park. It was going on 5 years ago. It has fired back up starting August, harassing seniors for not very solid code enforcement things has picked up a lot. There are people who are very scared on fixed incomes in there. That is not the kind of policies that I want to see. So I think we need a workshop and very clear indication of what's been going on, why, and put a stop to it. Because I too, mobile home parks, maybe people don't think they're the most elegant or whatever, doesn't matter. They provide important housing for a group of people that need to have a place to live. In addition, we're setting ourselves up for lawsuit risks if we're not following the statutes that says, hey, you can't do that to a mobile home park.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we go to the consent agenda. And it's only, okay, I ask for a motion on to pass the consent agenda as amended.
So move.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Okay, moving along. New business, here we go.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor, who seconded the motion with masks on? I can't tell.
I'm sorry.
Legal.
Oh, Sarah, who made the motion?
Chris.
The motion was made by Commissioner McBoy. Who seconded it?
Sarah. Malik.
Sarah,
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
thank you.
I guess I should.
The one with the red hair.
The red-haired stepchild. Okay, new business. Here we go.
Wait,
What? Wait,
the consent,
we
sorry.
just did,
We just did.
we just passed the consent agenda.
Oh.
Did you take the vote on the consent agenda?
Yes, we did,
Sorry,
and it
thank
was
you.
unanimous.
Perfect, thank you.
You gotta keep up.
I did.
I know. Okay, let's see, following the agenda, the next thing I see, and tell me if I'm wrong, Madam Clerk, is the new business, the A, temporary downtown
Yes.
sidewalk cafe guidelines.
Yes.
That's
Thank you.
right.
All right, so, new business. You want? I'm sorry,
You ready?
am I ready? Can I go home now? And I'm just looking, I'm looking for it. Where is it?
I
New
will
business.
say new business A, the orange tab.
Orange tab.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am, sir.
one of the things that I really liked about the previous mayor is she would occasionally suggest that we take a little break. I don't think we're quite ready for it. But I'm just going to throw that idea out
We
there.
are moving forward. No breaks. Let's go.
No, come on.
Not
I
6
sit in
months.
court all day long. Okay, I'm not finding it. New business, number one.
First tab.
A, sidewalk.
I know, but it's like new business, right?
That's because we have the.
You're under new
electric
business
stuff, so-
electric.
Oh,
Back up.
Yeah.
Go to the front.
It's the first orange one.
there. Oh, this is what I'm doing. Okay, I'm so ahead of myself. Okay.
There might be a staff presentation on that. I don't know.
Yes.
Is there a staff presentation?
Yes, there is. If you,
We'd be delighted to hear it.
thank you, Madam Mayor and
Thank you.
Commission. With us is our resident expert on this issue, our own Jamie Brown from Public Services. So he's going to run you through a real high level description of what we have here and what we're asking for. So Jamie.
Take it away.
Take it away.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Commission. The item before you, the downtown sidewalk cafe guidelines. So this came about last year when the governor decided to reopen restaurants at 50% capacity. So this was a program that the city brought forward to help the restaurants basically maintain the social distance per CDC guidelines by letting them extend their seating areas out into the city right of way. Now, when we initially did this, it was only restaurants, serving hot food downtown, no other establishments. And we kind of did it off of just their business frontage. Now, obviously, over the past year, everything has kind of progressed as the pandemic has kind of moved along. Now there are currently no restrictions as far as capacity, but things have changed. Sorry, things have changed quite a bit since this initially started. So now we're kind of running into some issues as far as parking downtown and lack of parking because of these spaces. Some businesses having more spaces than others. We've got other businesses downtown that are not restaurants, but cafes. Some are just strictly bars. Some are, different things that are also requesting that they get spaces as well. So we wanted to bring this back to you guys to get some type of resolution, some type of guidance, so we can then amend our guidelines and put these back out there based on what you guys would like to do moving forward. So that way we can kind of curtail a lot of the calls and comments we're getting right now.
Thank you. Thank you. So do we want to hear from each commissioner? Do we want to hear what?
Well, just to provide a little more clarification, we've noticed that some of the businesses have taken liberties. We kind of started with a few spaces. Now some have 5, some have 7. We move it back. Some have 2. And it's just on the city streets, which are the alphabet streets outside of the city, the state right of way.
Right.
So we're not talking about Lake and Lucerne. So we would like to know if you want to continue the concept, if you have any desire to maybe limit it to a number of spaces per restaurant. Is it just restaurants? Do you want to consider the other activities? So just to set that up, Madam Mayor.
Let's start with District 4.
Madam Mayor, before you can discuss this with the other commissioners, I'll need a motion and a second, please.
Well,
they can.
So there's.
Yeah, please, Glenn.
Glenn?
Yeah. So this, the previous commission has a policy that they wanted a motion before they began discussing. Other commissions have different philosophies. So you can decide, it's your own meeting, you can decide that you want to have discussion before you get to the motion.
I think a motion at this point would be a little premature because we really don't know, this is almost, I mean, we're doing this.
It's almost like a workshop.
I was going to say, I don't want to workshop ourselves to death, but this is a, so I was just going to ask for comments, brief comments from every member of the commission.
2 minutes, 3 minutes.
Brief comments from every member of the commission. What?
2 minutes, 3 minutes.
2 minutes. Let's limit it to 2 minutes. Herman?
Yeah, I really don't want to vote on any decision on this without hearing from merchants. And I don't know if they were notified or not. But without their input, this is a workshop item, in my opinion. I struggled to have the picket fences instead of the construction barriers for several months. I am also concerned about the virus not being, relaxing too much.
That's the governor.
I'm concerned about our governor relaxing.
Well,
I think outside dining is I'm going to still say important. Can be attractive. It's abused by some, as everything is. I think we need to, I haven't heard anything about parking problems created by the elimination of parking, even though we're all concerned about parking. I think this needs more study and participation from the merchants. And our commission, our new commission is, I'm interested in hearing the discussion, which is new on the dais.
Thank you. Are you done?
For now. That was less than 2 minutes.
Herding cats.
I'll reserve 2 minutes.
Yes, I share, I completely agree with Commissioner Robinson. When I saw this on the agenda, I was like, I don't have enough information. I just don't have enough information. We just received a nice overview, I think, of what some of the concerns are. But I don't feel prepared to make any decisions right now because, sometimes 2 or 3 people might complain about parking, but that might not be representative of the entire area. So I don't know if we have any kind of email, like if we have like an easy way to contact everybody in that area, if there's any kind of organized way of doing that. I am a big fan of surveys because I'd like to hear from everybody instead of just, it's like the voluntary response bias where the people calling the radio station have something they're mad about, right? They don't call and say everything's going okay. So I really think we need more input, and I want to see it done in a way, even if we do random samples, in a way to where we really get a good pulse on what's going on down there. So that's all I have for now.
Commissioner McGowan?
Very similar comment. I sympathize with staff that they'd like some direction on what to do, but I think we need more information. I need somebody to help me. If we allow a restaurant with a bar to put out tables, what's the argument that you don't allow a coffee shop? What's the difference between a coffee shop and a restaurant? It seems like that's pretty small. both things consume stuff sitting at a table or a chair. I understand with a bar, you've got a little bit different situation with more alcohol involved on the street, maybe not such a good idea. Nightclub, I'm not quite sure. Do we want dancing on the streets? Well, could be kind of nice, but I don't know what the need is there. So I would, and I totally agree with Commissioner Stokes. There's often in many things in society a tendency for certain people to make a lot of noise, and it's not necessarily representative of the overall concern. So yeah, I need more information before I can vote. I need to know a variety of things. I'm very interested. I think there is a useful data point there that Commissioner Robinson pointed out. We're very concerned about parking, but apparently this hasn't caused great outcry on lack of parking, even though we presumably, it'd be interesting to know how many parking spaces did we take away. It gives you some idea of the elasticity of that problem. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Well, I have done my research on this. I do own a business downtown. My biggest concern is that a lot of the rules that were set forth when this resolution was first enacted have seemed to go away by themselves, right? So there is no more 6-foot seats. The tables that might be 4 feet now have 10, 12 people around them. So my bigger concern is the health and safety of our community. And being a business owner, I understand that, yes, we need to have every opportunity to make money. But I'm all for reining in because it's become a free-for-all downtown. And, you know, we are watching numbers spike. We're watching variants come around. Now people are getting vaccinated, and there's been a lackluster of mask wearing downtown. And my job, number one, is to protect our residents, in my opinion, and the businesses and making a living. But as a gym, you know, I'm not going to start doing boot camp outside because it's safer on the sidewalk, right? So I think that we need to have more conversation with the merchants, but twofold. You know, how do we get the merchants to come back and understand there are CDC guidelines and 6-foot rules and social distancing rules and mask mandates for a reason, and not have the free for all? So it's got to be a meeting of the minds. You know, if we give an extension to this to help them survive COVID and get back more business and make it a better dining experience than being crammed inside, then they have to make sure that they're really enforcing, you know, the fact that we're trying to keep the whole community safe. And, you know, right now you drive past some of the restaurants and bars downtown and you got 15 people standing around one table, you know, at 10 o'clock at night with beers in their hands, no mask on, and it's just become rampant downtown. So I think that we do need to have some kind of, ordinance going forward, a resolution. I think it's great to have the cafes outside. I actually like it because it brings, the outdoors in and vice versa. But I think that there has to be some responsibility on the merchants and the business owners on keeping everybody else around safe.
Thank you.
Very much agree, and I would add to that.
Already.
What's that?
You spoke already. No.
I think as the vaccination goes up, there's going to be a tendency for people to relax the vigilance. And the information I'm seeing is that just because you're vaccinated doesn't necessarily mean you can't transmit it.
That's correct.
So the concerns that Commissioner Malega has raised are probably increasing rather than decreasing.
Thank you. Well, the thing is, we're talking about the, in front of Brogues, in front of Dave's. I mean, we all know downtown. I live downtown. We're under the canopies of Dave's and Brogues. I mean, that has nothing to do with the street things, and people are close, and we really have no control over that. I mean, I wish we had. I'm a little concerned about the governor myself, but I think it was premature what he did. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the parking spaces that they're taking. I'm downtown a lot, and Lilo's has gone, like they've completely taken over the side of the street. I would be happy. I mean, I think we can study everything until we're blue in the face, but I also think that, they've been given to, the staff is asking to extend it to May 31st, or suggesting that. I think that if the bar or restaurant or coffee shop, which, maybe extended to the coffee shops, 2 spaces, you get 2 spaces. The barricades are mandated by state statute, I'm told, by the safety, right? We don't have a choice about how they look. So I think we have to separate, the crowding of people. And when I go on, the corner of K and Lake, I mean, between Brogues and Dave's and IGOT's and then Lila, it's a lot of people, and I don't go there. but we're only talking about the parking spaces. So my off the cuff suggestion would be to limit it to two, you know, if for the time being, limited to two. If you've got, and some of these, like Lilo's has outside dining, you know, and now they have an entire block of our parking. And there is a parking issue downtown.
There's
You know, there really is. So, you know, my suggestion, I'm not, you know, my suggestion would be like limit it to 2 spaces, and we'll talk about it at the end of May. Yes.
Me again, if that's okay.
That's okay.
Okay.
I'm just being mean.
Okay. I think it's a very broad thing that staff is looking for. So I think there are things like Betty, Mayor Rush is saying now, Madam Mayor.
Your Majesty.
You know, if we have guidelines and they're not following them, we should enforce them.
Right.
As to whether we're going to extend this to cafes or other types of businesses, that I'm not sure I can take a stance on right now. But I do think that if we have certain guidelines and we've done this out of like the kindness of our hearts to help these businesses, they should respect that, and we should act on that as soon as we can. But another question I did have, just with, you know, having a mutual respect of the downtown area and being considerate of everybody, is if we have guidelines for like the noise and the music, because sometimes I'll be in front of one restaurant and I can hear the either a band or music from another restaurant pouring into that space, and it just doesn't create a pleasant environment for me with being like assaulted with all this different stuff. So I don't know if there's something where now that we're moving outdoors and we're adding music, if there's like a noise level that is in place and they're just not following it. So I'd like to add that into it as we're talking about the parking spaces as well. But cafes and things like that. Also, another reason I'd like to hear from the merchants is because maybe there's an idea that they have that I don't have. You know, maybe not every single cafe needs its own parking spaces, but there could be a shared space where you go to the cafe, you pick up your food and you take it to that space. So I'm happy to try to give staff direction to enforce the kind of guidelines that we already have in place that are being taken advantage of while we look for more information regarding these other types of businesses.
Your idea of 2, there's a little map.
Yeah.
Everybody else can see here, that shows you which restaurants and how many spaces they have.
Mm-hmm.
If we revised it to 2 spaces, that would put 11 spots back downtown instantly.
Yeah. Do you have a motion?
Madam Mayor, I have a public comment if you want to hear it before you make your motion now.
Sure.
Okay. This is just, I have to set the timer for 2 minutes and I think it may go over, but I'll have to stop. This is from Joseph Lipovich. My name is Joe Lipovich, owner of Lilo's Street Food and Bar at 701 Lake Avenue. I'm writing in support of continuing the current parking lot dining program, as well as Lido's. The following businesses are in support of these ideas: Dave's, Brogues, Irish Rock, Rudy's, and Rum Shack. As a business owner, surviving COVID has been difficult. We've fared better than some. We stayed open under strictest restrictions. We kept our employees working, and we worked to help feed the community. Yet our future is still in doubt. A recent Harris poll for the USA determined that 25 to 30% of the population would not feel safe to venture out, even though they've received the vaccination, until the nation reached herd immunity. The economic vitality of the downtown district 100% depends on how we are perceived by today's consumer. Outdoor commerce is essential. Without, the downtown district will disappear. Almost every reservation requires outdoor dining. Customers tell us they don't care where they sit as long as it's outside. Current parking lot dining, BLD program is working well and could be enhanced with allowing sidewalk sales, creation of off-street areas for commerce or dining, socially distanced dining rooms and retail stores. Timeline commitment to remaining COVID safe so retailers invest in beautifying the outdoor areas. Recognizing not all businesses are located along a city-owned thoroughfare, the city should permit sidewalk sales and could erect public areas for dining or even shopping. West Palm Beach did this with great success with their communal dine out program. Outdoor is where it's at, and it's extremely attractive to today's shoppers, creating a buzz or vibe for the city. This outdoor sidewalk street commerce will save businesses. Restaurants allocated PLD space should be required to social distance inside seating by limiting capacity. That's all the time we have, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Todd Townsend?
Townsend 502 South J Street again. If we had my one-story parking garage right now, we could say no parking anywhere on Lake Ave in the downtown area. Now you can really spread out. You can put the tables out. You've got plenty of space because there's no parking on the street there. Now you can put tables out. You can still have people driving up and down the street, but all those parking spots will be for vendors and the like. Meanwhile, all the cars are spread out on a one-story parking garage all the way from end to end. So you can go anywhere you want and have parking right near to where you want to be.
And that's an interesting idea for the future. Thank you. Tammy Panza.
Hi, Tammy Panza, 116 North L. Again, I think that the sidewalks are important for keeping business in the city, and it also shows that we are coming back to life. I do appreciate the if-then aspect of we will continue this if you make an effort to do what we want to do. I think that's a great compromise. Some storefronts do not have any nearby seating. I think, again, getting a list of the businesses in the city and those that are affected by the use of parking spaces would be useful. Many of the initiatives that the city does, they could ask the businesses for participation if they just had a list and contact info. You can get this very easily by just putting out an email. Hey, what do you think about this? And it could be part of the workshop process and stuff, information gathering. Limiting it to 2 seats in some areas might be great. I like the idea of a community where the one business does not control the whole thing, but maybe it could be a community seating area, especially on the first block of Lake after Dixie Highway, where there's a lot of restaurants and they have no parking spaces and no parking lots. So I'd like you to ask them to see if maybe a community area on that first block at least could be provided somewhere. I don't know if it can be on the main street or not, to allow community outdoor seating. Thanks.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, is there anybody else?
I don't have any further comments.
Okay, I don't think we're going to come to a vote tonight about this. And I guess we're going to probably have a workshop. Can we ask staff to reach out to the different, we've heard now, we have a letter from Lilo's who took up the entire side of the street. Where do we go from here? It's a rhetorical question. Where do we go from here? Most of the restaurants do have outside. It's not like the restaurants don't have outside seating. The on Lake and Dixie, the wonderful Mediterranean restaurant. They all have some outside seating. And they have not had the opportunity to have parking spaces as well because they're on Lake. So, do we set aside a part where everybody brings their food? I don't know. The communal idea is one idea. So, what do you think? What do you think we should do? Yes, Commissioner McVoy.
Well, I think Tammy's idea, and if I understand right, she's alluding to sort of an equity issue between the different businesses.
Right.
That if you just happen to have parking spaces, well, great.
Right, that's what she
But
said.
if you don't, then,
Right.
So I think some way of assessing what's the need, can we come up with a way to make it equitable or reasonably equitable?
And does
And the communal has potential to me.
Right, is it Sabra, so on the corner, the Mediterranean, have they had a problem? Are they, they have quite a few outside
They have
spaces.
a lot, they're set back.
Yeah,
They have
right,
lot of
a lot of Lake Avenue is set back. 2J's has outside seating. Dave's, Rogues, they all have outside seating. It's not like they're contained into their restaurants. So although we want to be as accommodating as we can, I think we need to just, be realistic as well. Commissioner Robinson?
There's a difference between the north side and the south side of Lake Avenue in sidewalk usage. So I just.
They're wider on the one side. Yeah, I mean, but Dave's does have outside. Downtown Pizza has outside.
Sure. But it's limited by the sidewalk depth.
But have they had a problem? Are we, that's my question. Are we creating a problem where there may not be a problem with those businesses? So I guess talking to the businesses, if we had a staff member somehow reach out to the businesses and just say, how's it going? I mean, they're all still open. No, none of them have closed.
Thank God.
Yeah.
I had reserved a minute, I think. Sorry. The fact that there is a difference between north and south of Lake Avenue. The usage that I've noticed is not consistent with the space taken up. I don't know how you survey that from different hours of the day, but some of the space that is, I'm going to say excessive, is not used. And I certainly want to be fair to everybody. And Commissioner Stokes mentioned of noise. I'm going to throw in valet parking as something of a concern for parking. I know we're talking about the COVID cause of this, but if we're going to have a workshop, and I would like to set a date tonight for a workshop to address some of the control of noise, some of the control of valet parking, some of the control of this issue specifically. So if we can come to an agreement on a date, that I think is a small step forward.
Commissioner Stokes.
Commissioner Malega's light has been up.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Follow the rules over here, people.
Please do. We appreciate that.
Thank you. So I think that I'm just going to say for me personally, I don't want to start my first meeting with not giving staff direction because they've been dealing with that for an insurmountable time. So this exact thing that's on here is just asking point blank, do we want to suspend this on May 31st? So staff direction needs to be, I mean, I can make a motion that no, and that we need to come back around. We don't want to suspend it as of May 31st. So, but we want to come back around to what does the program look like in the future?
Well, I don't understand about, so you don't want to end it on May 31st?
No, I don't. That's what they're asking. Do we want to temporarily suspend the program on May 31st? Correct?
Madam Mayor, can I provide some clarification?
Sure.
This is currently something that you have not provided an ordinance or resolution. This was done under the
Because Jamie said resolution
of the governor.
Okay.
And so we're in a state of emergency technically still. So we, through the staff's and my administrative order capabilities, initiated it back when we were having the real problems. Coming fast forward, the issue is, do you want to continue it for however long under this, time of emergency? Do you want to limit it down to 2 spaces? And do you want to include any other businesses besides just restaurants? Because we're getting barraged by other businesses that see the restaurants who originally were in the program, and we didn't think it was appropriate for us to start dicing and slicing. So that's really the issues, and I appreciate your clarification on it, is are you okay with doing the program? Do you want to set some limit on the number of parking spaces they have, because they've kind of taken liberties?
They have.
And I know want to include anybody else on the alphabet streets who has a store frontage that's not a restaurant. And that's really the 3 issues we were looking for guidance on. Understanding it's a temporary program that'll go away when the emergency declaration goes away from the governor's level. And then we can talk about, if y'all want to do something like Stewart, or downtown was mentioned in West Palm, and those long-term things, but that's part of the larger parking discussion, because there's a lot of moving pieces in that.
Yeah.
And so this is, if you want to keep it like it is and you're comfortable and you want to bring it back later, I'll just continue what we're doing now until we can have some conversation further, or give me some guidance either way. But I'm not intending to pull this or add anyone or change it in any way if I don't get clarification tonight.
Right.
Commissioner Stokes, did you have any more comments?
I just want to make a quick comment. We have a lot of really important things that are pressing to the city, and we're going to need to do a lot of workshops. In an ideal world for me, this is an important issue, but I would prefer that if staff could go out, get the input from the different merchants and kind of consolidate it and present it to us in a way to where, you know, I appreciate Commissioner Robinson wanted to pick a date right now to do this workshop, but I'm afraid that that is going to bump something else that may be more urgent. So that was just what I wanted to share there. I personally am fine to say, for right now, let's do what was done and rein back the liberties that people have been taking, get them to comply with what you had initially allowed them to do. And like Tammy Danza said, if they want to see us continue this program, and they need to be respectful of what we're asking them to do. And then we can go and get the information. And I'm not comfortable picking a date right now for a workshop on this matter.
I agree. So were there originally, when it started, were there, were they told you have 2 parking spaces? I mean, was there any sort of limit, any sort of guidance that they got?
Not specifically. And then it morphed into grabbing more spaces because we kind of envisioned sort of a couple of spaces. And then at one point they closed off the whole road.
Right.
I mean, people were moving barricades around, and that's still not as much as a problem, but it has been a problem. And at that time, we were really genuinely trying to be helpful because people were looking for places to eat.
Right.
And we even did the drop off and pickup spaces, if you'll recall, and our tenants at the beach. So we kind of made it up as we went along to be helpful, but we're beyond that point now.
I mean, I go past Lilo's and every seat inside is filled with people. There's, you know, I mean,
well, it's effectively floor space for additional restaurant outside their building.
Right.
Now, I don't have we're agnostic on the policy decision on that, how you want to govern it going forward, but it's done under an emergency order. Is the emergency still there and is it still effective? And are you comfortable adding other businesses now that are saying this isn't fair? Who aren't restaurants, and that's the difficulty.
If they're not, I mean, like a coffee shop.
Common grounds. You know, you can go down the whole list.
Right. I mean, when I go in there,
propaganda. They're a nightclub, but why wouldn't they, you know, ask for extra cafe spaces out front?
Herman?
Well, I appreciate prioritizing. This is important. This is something that we have to address, and I don't want to put off decisions, but I think we need to talk about the calendar and when we are going to talk about some of the priorities. And I don't know when we're going to do that, but I'd like to do it sooner rather than later. So can we talk about a date, a calendar of priorities of at least workshops?
Well, that's not, I mean, that's part of a bigger conversation. We have a lot, I mean, we've got the ARDA money coming. We've got lots of.
And then 2 more weeks, and that's how 2 years goes by.
Right, and my 2 cents, if you care, is that.
I do.
And I appreciate that. Even if you're lying. You know, it's not, you know, it's happening downtown. It's not a terrible emergency. It's not, you know, I mean, it's not, I don't see this as I mean, certainly is something that we can talk about, but I don't see it as a big emergency. We have the COVID money coming. We have the penny sales tax money to talk about. We have so many things to talk about. People are eating on the sidewalks, on picnic tables, in the streets.
Well, Madam Mayor, if you're comfortable as a body, I'll make the decision for you. And since we implemented it, we can go through and actually adjust the program if y'all are, but it's going to have potentially some of the businesses are going to say, well, we don't like 2 spaces, but that's your call.
And so it's the,
City manager.
Nope, there goes Jamie.
Hey.
Just real quick, I also wanted to mention, because we're kind of focusing on the restaurants and what we currently have out there, but there is a component of some of the businesses downtown that are not in favor of keeping these in place because they are not a food and beverage establishment. Right. And a place that I frequent on J Street all the time, their customers have to park further down in the neighborhood and actually tote, you know, that what they're bringing to that particular store, a block and a half, sometimes 2 blocks, depending on the day and depending on what time of day it is, to even get there. And for that establishment, the current setup does not work. So I just wanted to make sure that I kind of express the other side of things as well, that
Yeah.
for those who are not food and beverage, it's not ideal for them.
That
And
little-
also for Commissioner Malik, I apologize when I was talking about the current issue we're having. So I was trying to get a resolution on that. I didn't mean an actual resolution, like a city resolution. I apologize for that.
I mean, I wouldn't want to be the little dress shop next to IGOT's.
Right.
No, not, is it, say it again? Oh, right, okay, but that's next to not IGOT, is it IGOT's?
Yeah. It's
Okay,
across the alleyway.
yeah. You know, I mean, that would, you go by there and it's very, I wouldn't want to look for a parking space there, you know, I think I'm sure it's hurting them. Yes, Commissioner.
I just want to make a comment about then and now. And I appreciate if there isn't a decision, somebody will make a decision. And I was hoping that we would give more direction in the future than what has been happening in the past. And I understand that decisions have to be made. I respect the decisions that have been made, but I think that it's really important that we as commissioners representing the public have more of an influence on the decisions.
Of course.
I don't want the city manager making decisions for us.
I don't think we're asking him to.
Clearly stated.
No, I don't think we're asking him to. I mean, if we do nothing tonight, it'll stay the same.
Madam Mayor.
Yeah, ma'am.
I'd like to make a motion to extend it to May 31st and honing it back to 2 spots per organization. And I'd like in that motion to include not extending it to existing businesses that don't serve food, beverage, alcohol, something that has to be consumed while sitting down.
So eating establishments, that would
Eating
include.
establishment,
So you're,
coffee, yeah.
so you're expanding a little bit.
No, it's because we already
Well,
have
it's coffee shops don't have it.
We're only doing restaurants.
cafe coffee shops.
You want to include those? Okay.
That seems reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, if we're just make it fair, if you're consuming something, eating, sitting, drinking, consuming something where you have to sit down at a table and you need to take your mask off, I think that it's in the motion to have 2 spots per business that does that on the lettered streets only. Makes sense and extend it to May 31st.
If you serve food.
Yeah, food or beverage.
Well, I mean, like propaganda. I mean, do we let propaganda, which is really.
A nightclub, they don't.
Yeah, right, that's something. So food is sort of the, okay. So your motion, just say it again.
I'm making a motion to extend it to May 31st.
Okay.
Narrowing it down to 2 spots per entity on the lettered streets.
Right.
As long as their license includes serving some type of food.
They have a second.
Food/beverage?
Yeah.
Food, I mean,
like you could.
Well, it's a distinction because do you include bars in that if it's only a bar?
Food.
Madam Mayor?
So is the coffee shop back out
You
again?
just say cafe, coffee shop is
Yes.
probably the best thing.
They have-
Instead of serving food, just say cafe, coffee shop. Is that?
Yes. There you go.
So restaurants with bars.
Cafe coffee.
And cafe coffee shop.
IGOT's is out.
Right, they're not serving food.
Yeah, and they have outside.
We have a hand from the public. I don't know if we want to recognize our sure.
Customer of IGOT's?
No, I'm not a customer of IGOT's, but Dave's is a customer of mine, and he advertises food at IGOT's.
Right.
You can place an order for food in IGOT's.
Bring it over.
So that it meets the food
criteria.
And they'll deliver it from Dave's to IGOT's.
But they have smoking at IGOT's, don't they? Isn't that the whole point of IGOT's is that they can smoke at IGOT's?
Yeah, that was originally the point, they can smoke in there, but he doesn't do 10% of his business on food. So the smoking is allowed.
Also 2 parking spaces for IGOT's. I mean, that's, I don't know.
Yeah, just to clear that.
See where staff is pulling.
No. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think he's.
Sorry to add a hair in hand there.
I mean, I think that thing about you can smoke, but you can bring your own food is a little sketchy. But if, will you include IGOT's on that? Because they're connected to Dave's and they get food from Dave's?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna start serving protein shakes at the gym. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
You don't want to be, what do you want to do outside? It's hot out. Okay, so do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? No nays? Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for doing that.
Thank you.
Oh, we have another
Can we
county
still
heard
hear from the merchants? You know, I feel like this is just,
This is just
isn't the end of this.
This gives staff direction to,
And
So we're not home at 12 o'clock on our first.
thank you.
Thank you.
On a fairly light agenda, I might add. She says optimistically. All right. Next one is, what's our next?
C, Oracle elevator for the PBSO building.
Okay, this, you pulled that one?
No,
Oh,
that's just,
oh, the new business, okay. This isn't do we have any input from staff?
Yes, Madam Mayor. It's Jamie Brown from Public
Hey,
Service.
Jamie.
Hello. So this is more of a maintenance item. So this is involving our public safety building, which is located at 120 G Street, which is where PBSO District 14 is housed. Though they operate out of that building, it is a city-owned facility. So we take care of all the major the systems in that building: roofing, mechanical, electrical. But we've got the elevator in that building. It's beyond its useful life, and it's gotten to the point now where it's hard to even get parts because they don't even make them anymore. So this is for a complete upgrade of this elevator and all of the things that come along with that. And we have 2 other elevators in the city, which will also be done. Currently, the city hall, the elevator for City Hall is in permitting. So that's another one will be done. Then the casino building is coming soon as well.
Okay, but this is just about the one at the public, is that the only elevator in the public safety building?
Correct. This is for the main one in the lobby there, when the entrance off of G Street. So you've got like a new side of the new side of that building, and then there's the old side as well.
Is this the old side of the building?
This is the new side.
The new side, okay.
Yeah, there's this entrance right off of G Street, like that main entrance there.
And Madam Mayor, this is funded out of the sales tax money.
Sales tax.
Okay.
Facilities improvements as part of that package.
Do I have a motion?
Madam Mayor, I have a comment of, someone wrote a public comment, if I could read it.
Sure.
This is from Kara Jennings, North C Street. I would like to know if these funds are from the penny sales tax funds, as I believe this maintenance item was on the manager's list of penny sales tax projects. It appears the prior commission took their capital repair needs and allocated most of the penny sales tax for them. I hope this new commission will hit pause on these penny sales tax allocations and reconsider the use of these funds. We have a unique opportunity to fund significant public improvements instead of R&R maintenance needs. That's the only comment I have.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry, who's talking? Oh, hi, Commissioner, I didn't see your light.
It's ironic that Kara Jennings mentioned the penny sales tax. I was going to mention the budget negotiations going forward as maintenance items in negotiating with the PBSO and fire department, along with cash out. But as part of negotiations, I would like to negotiate maintenance items like this in those contracts.
Okay. Commissioner McBoy?
I too have a degree of discomfort with using the penny sales tax for what seemed like kind of routine maintenance items. I hadn't thought about Commissioner Robinson's comment, but it does seem reasonable that if the PBSO contract is coming up soon, that there might be some degree of talk of cost sharing on some of these things. Does not seem unreasonable to me. I guess my question for Jamie would be, when was maintenance last done on this elevator? And have you really exhausted $120,000 is quite a chunk for one elevator, particularly if we're hearing that there are more coming. Have we really exhausted all the options on maintenance, replacement of parts, whatever? I did hear that the company that makes it is out of business, but I would guess that if they made more than 1 or 2 elevators around the country, somebody is making sure that there are parts available. So I have a little concern. My concerns are penny sales tax. Is that appropriate use? The overall cost, have we exhausted maintenance?
Thank you.
Did you want me to answer that or?
Sure.
Yeah, so yeah, we have exhausted, we've done a lot of repairs on this particular elevator, and unfortunately, multiple people have gotten stuck in this elevator. Our Captain Bear being one of them last year.
That's part of the association.
Oh, bueno.
So yeah, this is a necessary repair that needs to be done, and we only do the major systems in the building. Like PBSO, they've invested into flooring. They've done a lot of the smaller things to upgrade that facility. But as the landlord and the actual property owner, the owner of the facility, the burden of the larger stuff falls on us. That does fall on the city. But they have invested some money into upgrading that facility, though.
Your light's still on. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna keep you in line.
Halfway there.
Commissioner Stokes.
Yes, I had a question for you as well, Jamie. I'm just wondering about the urgency of this. So if I'm not familiar with that building, I'll be taking my tour next week with Captain Bear, but
You still get on the elevator.
it's the only
You
elevator.
don't go in the elevator.
And how many stories? 2 stories, and it's the only elevator.
Two-story building.
So, so I'm assuming there's people using that facility that cannot manage without the elevator to get to where they need to go.
Yeah, so being that it's our actual the PBSO's facility they operate out of, the public really only has access to the lobby area that you enter from G Street, and then you've got multiple doors that are kind of locked that you have to get access to actually get back into the facility, and it's kind of segmented up a little different because our IT operation for the city operates on the second floor that have to enter through a different side of that building, but they do not have access to the PBSO areas.
Right, okay.
Okay. And then I was wondering, I just wanted clarification from Commissioner Robinson, if you were proposing that we hold off on this repair until after we talk about the contract with PPSO. I wasn't sure if that's what you were proposing.
No, I just, in the future, just in the future, but the elevator needs to be fixed. Sorry.
And we are the landlords.
Yeah, so we're
And I also, my 2 cents, I don't have a light, is, it is sad that we're using the penny sales tax money, but we are also, we who sit here, there's been so much deferred maintenance, and we don't have a lot of money. So I mean, if I come in, if I have something that I need and I get a little push of money, and that's an important ADA stuff, I'm very sensitive to elevators.
But the public doesn't use this from what.
Yeah, it's the lobby. It's the lobby. Well, the ADA doesn't just go to the public. ADA doesn't just go to the public.
Still have.
ADA staff.
We've done ADA issue. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, it is, and I agree with Kara. It's unfortunate that we have to use this money for that, but sometimes you have to do unpleasant things with your money. We've got to look at I think, all of us are knowing that we have to take a look at the penny sales tax money and how it's being used. But I think right now we're being faced with an elevator that people are getting stuck in, and we need to fix it. And I guess the other question, do we have another fund, Mr. City Manager, that we can draw from?
Madam Mayor, one of the reasons we talked about and presented a long laundry list, this is just a piece of it on the sales tax, is there isn't the money.
Okay.
You're going to find as you go through the budget process, your assumption that there is money for R&R, you're going to have to wedge it in and cut something else. And we're pretty tight as it is. So I appreciate the comments that normally under normal circumstances, but when you have equipment, buildings, conveyances and things that haven't been maintained or have reached end of life, it's not just a maintenance issue. You're literally kind of replacing it.
Yeah.
Completely out. And we haven't over the years done that with a lot of our infrastructure. So that's why that was presented as the city manager's list of facilities improvements. We see this coming. There isn't a pot of money that we have set aside for this.
And if we did, you'd use it.
We would have already used it.
Okay. I know that the elevator in my building, which is a small little elevator, they just had to completely replace it at a huge cost. So is this worth saving, Jamie? I mean, will
Is
this,
the elevator worth saving?
yeah, I mean, will this money take care of it?
No, it's a new
Yeah,
one.
this money is going to get us a brand new elevator in that facility.
All right. Oh, that, oh.
But as someone already mentioned, this is an ADA requirement, so we don't really have a lot of choice.
Actually, that's not bad.
We sell the old.
We sell the old one.
This issue goes up and down.
A couple things. I'm always going to recommend that you take the stairs because it's great to prolong the longevity of your life.
You go ahead and take the stairs.
So I'm always going to throw that out there. If you can take the stairs, take the stairs. Nobody wants to get caught in an elevator. PBSO does a great job protecting us. We got to protect them. It is an ADA issue, which is why I hit my light immediately. I'm like, this shouldn't be a conversation. So I make a motion to approve the funds out of penny sales tax to replace this elevator for PBSO's building.
Thank you. Do I have a second? That's her, Mr. Robinson. Say your second. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving right along. Where are we now? Let's see.
New business D.
Oh, here we are. Okay.
Let me keep my light on.
Staff, you want to give us a little insight into this?
Madam Mayor, actually, Joan Oliva, the CRA director, is on.
Oh, okay.
We can bring her up if you want to have any questions to
Sure.
about this refi.
Sure. That'd be helpful.
Joan?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Joan.
Hi there. Good evening, everybody. On your agenda tonight, the CRA is refinancing 3 previously approved lines of credit that were taken out. One was in 2016, one was in 2017, and one was in 2019. And all of those were used for property acquisition. We now have the ability to put those all into one debenture with a lower interest rate, which will save us money over the years, and also will actually allow us to cut 1 year of our debt off. So instead of paying off all of the debt in 2028, we would be able to pay it off in 2027.
Okay. I have a question. And I asked the city manager when I met with him, what I'm asking the CRA and the city to provide a list of what properties were purchased with what money.
I provided that yesterday to the city manager.
Okay, well.
I sent it via email, Madam.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Listed all the properties and there, I sent it to every.
Okay, I just haven't caught it yet. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Do anybody, any questions? Oh,
I think he was up first.
all right. Commissioner Boy?
As we've, I think, talked about and certainly will talk about, there is probably quite a bit of push in the community for changes with the CRA.
Yes.
Understood.
And of how things are done. I do not at all feel comfortable doing this on a rush basis without having some of those conversations. I have not had the opportunity to talk with the CRA on some of the staff and or board. I did ask also for the list of things. I asked for them a while ago and did not receive them. I have not yet received them.
They were sent.
Well, I didn't get them.
You weren't sworn in.
I
We
was told I would get them.
started 2 hours and 45 minutes ago.
Anyhow, that's a concern to me. The other is, I understand that there is some degree of urgency to deal with this because of, it doesn't make sense. It makes sense to do with the current interest rates, which I understand is 2.22%. At 2.5%, the CRA has decided that it doesn't make sense. A couple of questions that I need answered before we go further. At 2.5%, the savings is about 20K, and at that point, they're not interested. So the real savings out of this is the difference between 50 and 20. So the savings is 30. Is that a 30K every year or 30K over the duration until these loans are paid off?
I think it's 50.
No.
So if we go with the 2.2 right now, we would have a minimal savings of approximately $50,000. If we leave it and we wait until perhaps it goes up to 2.5, our savings would come down to approximately 20,000.
Right. And my understanding is you didn't want to do it at 2.5. So the real savings is the difference between the 20 at 2.5 and the 50 at 2.22.
Well,
So,
I think
yeah.
that was the range that the board, that, we talked about with the board, at our last meeting, and they really wanted us to try to move forward and get it at 2.2 so we could have the most savings. The money's already been spent.
I understand that. My concern is with the urgency of doing this, and I want to make sure I understand the reasons for that.
What's your problem with doing it?
My problem with doing it is I don't want to be rushed into something that is part of a big deal. $3 million that's related to it. It's not spending that. I do understand that, but I do not feel comfortable being rushed into it. And I need to be convinced of why there is a need to rush. So I would like to ask the finance director or anybody who has knowledge of it, what is the likelihood that if we tabled this for 2 weeks, that it would go from the interest rate would go from 2.22 to 2.5 or anything near it?
Madam Mayor.
Otherwise, there's not a rush.
So being that I have a finance and insurance background, that's what I bring to the table, F&I certified for over 20 years. Banks will only lock in rates for every 30 days. They change every 30 days. We are approaching the April 1st. So I understand the urgency of what Joan's feeling, the CRA board is feeling. Saving $30,000 to me is saving $30,000. And right now, any penny and anything that the CRA can bring that's a positive, I'm all for. I understand the urgency. This isn't money that we're spending. It's money that's already been spent, unfortunately. I mean, I'd like to go back to conversations when the 3 million was spent and try to stop some of that, but it's already been done. So I understand your concern with why the urgency, but $30,000 to me is a big chunk of change, because that goes back into the city's coffers instead of going off to, a big bank. It's not like it's Bank of Lake Worth Beach that's funding this and that we're getting the interest rate. So that's my 2 cents on it. I'm in favor. I've read through it. I've run the numbers 3 times, and it does make financial sense if you take my expertise as I take yours in the environmental world.
Thank you. Commissioner Stokes?
Yeah, so I did look briefly at the list of the properties and where the money was coming from. It wasn't clear to me exactly where the money was coming from. So I think the concern is, this is my concern, was any of
Oh dear. I'm so sorry.
There was some properties listed as price.
What was that?
Like the city.
That's not the point.
Well, this is my question.
Okay.
I'm going to have a legitimate question, I promise you. Some of it was saying that, was from the city. Some of it was saying it was from the CRA. So
Correct.
I just want to make sure that, to me, it seems like a no-brainer. We have this debt. Like, let's consolidate it and save money. But I want to make sure that there's no other hidden side effects that's going to be happening. So, and please be patient with me because I am new to this. I'm just curious if any of this was purchased with the penny sales tax money. Does that have attachments to it of like limitations that we can do with this property? Now, if we like consolidate it all, is it going to change any of the conditions for the land use? I just want to know. The only thing that this is changing is how much money we're paying. And there is no.
Yes, it is, but
side effect. I just have to do my due diligence.
Sure.
And I think
oh,
that's
absolutely.
where-
Listen, when you asked me for a list of what properties we bought, I gave you a list of all the properties we bought, whether they were bought with cities penny sales tax money or whether they were bought with our line of credit money. All of the ones that are bought by the CRA and are owned by the CRA, except for the downtown ones, which were bought with penny sales tax money, were bought with this line of credit funds. The penny sales tax is not part of this refinance. Only our lines of credit are.
Commissioner Robinson?
I'd like to thank the efficiency of the CRA for making this change in interest rates. I want the public to understand that CRA's money is their money, just as the city's budget is their money. It's just in a different, people are using it differently and less accountable for it. But it's still city money. It's still citizen money.
Thank you. Do I have a motion? Oh, no, we have public comment. Richard Stowe? And please remember, this is just about the refinance, not the original use.
Yeah, I'm Richard Stowe, and I would like to know which properties were purchased with.
Excuse me, can you take off your mask? We can't hear you.
I believe there's a list available that we will share with the public.
Yeah.
This is about, they owe this money, they want, it's like, I own my house, I pay X amount of, Ms. Levick, correct me if I'm wrong.
Sure.
I want to refinance my mortgage because I'll get a better rate.
Exactly.
That's it.
This is actually the
Oh,
second
talking
time we've
about
done it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as far as saving money, I mean, the city doesn't have, you know, a lot of money to spare, so it would make sense, but I still would like to know, I paid $95 to the CRA to get information as to how these properties on L&M and on Lake Avenue and K and First Avenue South were purchased. And I did not get I got minutes.
Okay. Apparently that list has been provided to us, which of course we will share with you. Is that correct?
Yeah. I just want to make that
Yeah.
extremely clear.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Greg Richter, thank you.
I want to emphasize, I think where you guys are now is that let's put aside our feelings about the CRA and let's go to the fiscal and the fiscal, you know, the fiduciary aspect. And you guys sound like you're online, so thank you.
Well, thank you. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Hey,
Okay, 4-1 passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, moving right along.
we have a new business E.
Yeah, electric. Thank you. It's a lot of
I was
paper.
mid-flip when I
What?
was mid-flip.
Mid-flip, yeah.
We gotta meet.
Okay, we have electric. There's no consent agenda. Oh,
Madam Mayor, we have item E that was former item, consent item C.
okay, what are we talking about?
It was consent agenda C, and now it's moved to new business E.
Oh, okay.
Item that Commissioner
Thank you very
McBride.
much. And this is about new business E, which is what we're talking about now?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Yes, okay.
Chenmore and Associates.
Okay, and it used to be consent agenda C, so that's all fine.
So Madam Mayor, we have, I believe Brian Shields, our water utilities director, as well as city engineer is available. If you'd like a brief explanation of what it is. All right, Brian, please.
Yes, thanks, Mike. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Brian Shields, Water Utility Director and City Engineer. I'll give a brief background on this. I understand Commissioner McVoy has a question or two for me. This item is a task order to Chen Moore, who's our District 4 roadway engineering consultant. And what this is for the design of a stormwater pump station located at the very south end of South Palm Park, NOA, on 18th Avenue South. This is an area that historically has flooded due to its being the lowest point in the city. And during king tides, as well as with heavy rainfall, tends to flood quite dramatically. As a matter of fact, the most recent episode was back in November of 2020, severe flooding due to the extreme rainfall and king tide. So as part of the neighborhood road program, Chen Moore did the study and recommended that we go with a stormwater pumping station, which we agreed to. This particular construction project, we're looking for funding from the state. Our lobbyist is in Tallahassee as we speak during session to get a House and Senate bill through and ultimately signed by the governor to provide us with a 50% match. One caveat on that, as Commissioner Maliga so aptly put, the project needs to be shovel ready. So this task order to Chen Moore will get us to a shovel ready point where the project is ready to go and hopefully and optimistically gets funding participation from the state. So with that, Commissioner Roy, I understand you had a question.
Yeah, my question is, obviously we like, helping people not flood. The cost for the, is my mic on? Seems like
we can hear you. It's picking up.
Okay. The cost for the study to make it shovel ready is $80,000. I asked Brian earlier for the cost of the project itself of building it. That's $600,000. And we understand that we've asked the state for it, but there's no guarantee that the state will actually come up with that. And it would be public funds wherever it comes from, whether the state or from residents of the city. My concern is that we have a lot of coastal properties and we have properties that are further inland. As sea level rise continues and increases, everybody is going to need some degree of flood protection. $600,000 is a lot to put in one area unless there's some sort of a overall plan of how we are going to deal with sea level rise mitigation and deal with spending public funds equitably for all the different issues. Flooding is one issue that residents of Lake Worth have in certain areas. It gets kind of complicated, the equity parts of it. And that is why I wanted this to be part of our more open discussion. Is this something that we want to wait until we have a full resiliency plan for the city so that we know how we're going to deal with equity issues? How are we going to deal with if you put a pump station here and the water comes up and the next people 2 houses up, they're now flooding and they'd like $600 worth of pump station. And then a few years later, the people, the next one up, we don't have that kind of money and we aren't likely to get it from the state indefinitely. So my concern is not with, is this a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Is it an equitable idea? And does it fit within a plan that's been thought out for the city as a whole? Those are my reasons for raising it.
Yes, Commissioner McVoy, it actually does fit within our overall stormwater master plan. This was listed as the highest priority project in the study that was performed by CDM a number of years ago. Since been updated and currently being revisited as we speak, updating the project costs and priorities. But we do have an overall plan to address flooding issues up and down the coast of the city. And one of the good things about hiring Chen Moore on this particular task order is the synergy we get, that they're one of the consultants on the what I call the micro-regional partnership from the cities, Lake Worth Beach down to Boca Raton. All the coastal communities are working together on an overall study for flood vulnerability and resilience, Chen Moore being one of the engineering consultants on that particular study, as well as Harvard University. So getting them on board brings us their expertise on the overall resiliency aspect of it. And at the same time, as I mentioned, we do have an overall long-term plan to address other areas of the city. In fact, one of our other grant applications is in Eden Place. So we do have a prioritized list of areas that have known historical flooding.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Anybody else? Do I have a motion?
Madam Mayor, I have one comment that was sent in.
Oh,
I'm sorry, I didn't realize.
No, and I didn't either for a second. Mr. Richter, would you like to make a comment?
Thank you. Thank you. I live at 1202 South Palm Way, and my property actually backs up in the lakeside. So I'm right at the corner of 12th and Lakeside. And there's another issue that comes in that kind of makes this more of a priority, is that you have a sewer line that coming in from Lantana, comes over from Osborne, that all ties in on Lakeside. So when you have this flooding, like we had in October, actually in September, October, November, you had water going into the sanitary line, thus releasing water throughout Lakeside, especially at my intersection at 12th and Lakeside, and also at 10th and Lakeside. You had raw sewage coming out of there. And I'm sorry, I should have, I sent you the video, but I mean, I have a video here. I mean, you can just pass this around if you want.
I don't need, I trust.
I've had the shots, so I've had 2 shots, so
I trust you.
What it is that there's water bubbling up out here.
And it's not clean.
That's the sanitary. So it's not the storm water. It's the sanitary. So you got it. I mean, the smell was terrible. I mean, we have elderly people that flooded into the yard. It did get into a couple of houses. So this is just a first step in fixing not only a stormwater problem, but a sanitary problem, because this is really dangerous. I listened to the water guy earlier. He talked about all the stuff at the spillway.
Right.
Well, this is the same thing happening right here on our streets, right in front of my house.
Right.
So, and this happens quite a bit. And so that's the other aspect. So I'm really asking you guys to, let's get this thing going now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, you have somebody else?
Yes. Yes, Madam Mayor, I do. Cheryl Rashkin, who is the president of South Palm Park Neighborhood Association. She writes, I'm speaking on behalf of South Palm Park for the approval of consent item C, Chen Moore and Associates, to provide engineering design services for the District 4 South Palm Park Sea Level Rise Mitigation Project. During our February 2021 meeting, following a presentation by City Manager Bornstein, the members present requested me to plead our case with the City of Lake Worth Commission to approve the upcoming work on the stormwater nuisance flooding that has inundated vast portions of our neighborhood. Flooding conditions have worsened over the years with sea level rise, king tides, and more frequent extreme rain events where the ground is saturated. The stormwater has nowhere to go and impacts residents' properties and way of life. This project will assist not only the neighbors on 18th Avenue South, but those on 17th Avenue South and along South Lakeside Drive. Wastewater from the sewer lines on South Lakeside Drive have become overwhelmed with the stormwater deluge and rise up on the street, causing it to be a health hazard and very smelly for many days. The city's water utilities department has identified repeat nuisance flooding at the eastern end of 17th and 18th Avenue South over the past several years after rain events, as well as the raw sewage coming out of the sewer drains on South Lakeside Drive from 18th Avenue South to 10th Avenue South. The award of this agreement is the first step to offer relief to these families as the climate change and water level rise in the coastal communities. The membership of South Palm Park is ready to assist the city in finding resolution to this issue, as whatever affects us affects the rest of the city as well. Respectfully submitted, Cheryl Rashkin, President, South Palm Park Neighborhood Association. Thank you. That's the end of my comments.
Commissioner Maliga?
So years ago, when I worked for corporate America, I have to just tell you, I was down at the old Miami Dolphin Stadium and
You worked for, I didn't hear who you worked.
I worked for corporate America.
Oh.
I worked for auto industry and we had a big sale down there on the weekend and it was mass rains. And it rained so hard that these sewers backed up into the tents that we were working in.
Mm-hmm.
And needless to say, I vowed never to go back to that event again because we were almost to knee high in sewage water trying to unplug computers and things. So I feel for the residents in this area of our city. I also know that I think that one of our great residents just moved out of Lake because her home was in that area and I was sad to see her move. And she was, a pillar of the community and a great voice. So I think that we need to do all that we can. And yes, that I understand the bigger picture is bigger. This is just one little dot. But I can hear the residents loud and clear and know that we need to help them. So I make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second? Commissioner Robinson.
No, go ahead. Motion's been made, seconded.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
What? You're aye?
I guess I'm an aye. I'm reluctant aye, but.
Well,
Opposer.
Are you an aye?
Or nay?
I'll be an aye.
Thank you. Okay. Next one. Now we're on to the electric, I believe. Madam Clerk, are we on to the electric? Number one, thank you, Mr. Richter.
Thank you.
We are on to the consent agenda portion of the electric utility.
Oh, okay.
Item 2 was moved to April 6th. It's just those 2 items. I mean, the 1 and 3.
1 and 3, okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Carried unanimously. We carried that unanimously, Madam.
Big gains, kids, big gains.
So the other one was taken off. So now new business for the electric, which is, okay, yeah. Do we have Mr. Liberty or somebody available to talk to us?
Absolutely, Madam Mayor. If you're ready for him, he's queued up at Ed University.
Believe we are.
Got his whiteboard.
Okay.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and fellow commissioners. Welcome to the dais and welcome to the team. I look forward to working with all of you. And of course, Herman's been through Ed University already, but always willing to do repeats and moving along to the graduate level courses soon.
I'm going to stop. Has everyone had a chance to meet with Mr. Liberty about these items?
Obviously. I briefly, but these are fairly major items. I am not very comfortable voting on them at this point.
Well,
as you know.
Okay. Well, let's hear from Mr. Liberty and then we can take it from there.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As a preface to all of these items 1, 2, and 3, we're obviously talking about item number 1 right now first. All of these items have been put together as a part of our system hardening and reliability improvement program and vetted by staff. When we get into discussions on circuits, they've all been force ranked from the worst circuit to the best circuit. And we're beginning with our worst circuits first in terms of our highest exposure and highest number of outages. These projects were all put together by staff, vetted by staff, and then were then submitted to an outside independent engineer, Stantec, who plays no role in the execution of these projects whatsoever. Stantec provided an independent engineering report in advance of the bond financing that was done. The bond financing did 2 things. It basically refinanced debt, and this was done with the leadership of our finance department and support from the utilities. So we refinanced existing debt, and we acquired new capital, issued new debt, if you will, to undertake these projects. So the projects were vetted in terms of their efficacy and appropriateness and the results that they're expected to produce by the independent engineer. That project package was then, together with our city's financial position, were presented in great detail to the bond rating agencies. Moody's issued an A2 level rating on our potential financing. And in that presentation was also then given to the potential investors on what we call the investor roadshow. We actually never got on the road. We did it all by Zoom.
Is A2 a good rating?
Yes, it is, ma'am. And I know Bruce Miller's on the line tonight, and he could jump in and comment if necessary. But it's a very good, fair rating.
Okay, thank you.
It's considered an investment grade rating, and I would add that that included both the electric and the water, as some of the money that was raised was going to the water and sewer side as well. So these projects have been well vetted. These documents were all in the public domain. The investor presentations, of course, were in the public domain, and the rating agency stuff is and their opinions in the public domain. So item number 1 on this list is task order number 3 with our engineers for engineering services related to the 138 kV switchyard at Canal. So what is that, right? So that is effectively the second tie line to the city. So the city has been on a single tie line since approximately 1974 and has continued to grow over the years. And since 1974 to today, the tie line has become even more important than ever. The city has outgrown the ability of its power plant, both in terms of the condition of the power plant and the capacity of the power plant to produce power to support the city during peak loads. So there are many, many times during the course of the year, and we're talking about not days, we're talking about many, many months of the course of the year, when the power plant is insufficiently sized to support the electric needs of the city. The city has aspired to have a second tie line or a separate connection, a second connection to FPL for decades and decades and decades. Pleased to announce, and we went through this with your predecessors, that we reached a very fair agreement, an understanding with FPL, whereby FPL will build the second tie line to us, and we will build the facilities to receive that tie line. So what you're being asked to approve tonight is the engineering dollars to perform the engineering for that new 138 kV interconnection at the Canal Road station. The project as a whole, and this is just the engineering component, but the project as a whole was planned for approximately $23 million. Because of the agreement that we were able to reach with FPL, which was a true win-win with FPL, and we thank them for their willingness to negotiate in good faith and reach this agreement. Our cost for the project will be approximately $8 million versus the original $23 million cost estimate that we had. So we'll see a savings of about $15 million. The target for completion of this project is December of 2022. And what you're being asked to do tonight is approve the engineering dollars to do the engineering work at that station. Following in months to come, you'll be asked to approve the material purchases and then ultimately the construction of the station itself. But we are under an agreement with FPL to have that station ready to receive power from them by December of 2022. So we are on a tight schedule. So that's my comments on new business item number 1. And I'll turn it back over to you, Mayor. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to the issue.
Thank you. I'm just looking at the second page of the executive brief where it talks about the account number and and it says it's like $11,000. Is that a realistic number, or is that, I mean, that's what it's going to cost us, $11,000 to do that? That's I don't.
No, I'm sorry, Madam Mayor. It's $1.13 million for the engineering work on this, and that has been negotiated and finalized, and that's what's in the contract. So we do have a signed contract, and effectively you would be ratifying that to go ahead and execute that contract.
Okay, and essentially you explained it to me the other day. It's, you know, FP&L is going to bring the big extension cord to the, to the station, and then we're going to build the station so that we have a place to plug it in. And then who are we responsible then from the extension cord? I'm just using that phrase, from the Canal Street till into the city. Does FP&L stop at the box?
Yes, yes, Mayor. That's a very good way of explaining it. FPL stops at the box at Canal. They will own everything from wherever they decide to connect on their system until they get to the Canal point of interconnection. It's defined in the agreement, and then we will own everything downstream of that. So we will own the box, if you will, that we're building to receive their two lines. And we already own the interconnecting line from Canal back to our main yard. And then that loops back to the south to Hypoluxo, which is the original tie line.
Right.
So this will allow us to have a loop with the power supply into the city from both ends, so that not only are we better protected from any potential outages on the FPL side to the south,
right,
but also in the event that we were to have an outage on any segment of our own system, we would be fully carry the city from one end or the other without the lights blinking. That was a very important feature of this project, is what we call having a normally closed breaker, so that we would never see a blink if the FPL line went out on either end.
I want to thank your staff for this morning. I heard a big loud bang and then my lights went out and you were back up in about 15 minutes. Thank you very much.
I was called immediately, and we can talk more about that. We treated you as a regular, normal customer, no preference.
No, I didn't expect it.
But that's the last call I wanted to hear, that the mayor's first meeting, and we had an outage.
No, well, you know that I've been here a long time, and I remember when the electric was a little unsteady, and it's, you've hardened a lot of things and it's gotten a lot better. Any questions?
I do have some questions.
Okay.
The backup says engineering, design, and construction services. So I'm a little unclear. 1 million sounds pretty low for construction of this. So is that correct, that it's both engineering, design, and construction? Or is it just engineering design?
It's engineering, design, and support during the construction process, because as it's being constructed, the company that will be hired, that has not been retained yet to actually do the construction, may have design questions. There's going to be some QA, QC that needs to take place, and power engineers would be available for that. And then there will be some as-built drawings that will need to be created. This would cover that as well. Construction management services will be provided separately using our own resources, as well as the Florida Municipal Power Agency that has provided an overall project manager for us as well. But power engineers will not be doing the construction. They'll be doing the engineering and design, and then providing some oversight for adherence to design during the construction process.
Okay, and the approximate ballpark cost of the actual construction?
The total project cost, including the engineering, would be a little over $8 million. And that would also then, there's other things that we have to do. We have to improve with fiber optic connectivity, and upgrading of the what we call the static line, which is on the top of the tower structure for lightning protection. And we will also have fiber optic communication for the high-speed relays. We're talking about devices that operate within milliseconds to protect the system electrically, as well as FPL system protection. Very similar. We have this in place already at Hypoluxo and been using it for years and years and years. So the total project is roughly $8 million.
And does that come from the electric utility money, or is that We have that money to spend?
Absolutely, Madam Mayor. It does come out of the SHRIP, what we call the System Hardening Reliability Improvement Program money that was raised to the bond sale. And I'll also add that in the commitment and having borrowed or sold bonds to raise this money, that money can only be used for these particular projects that were very specifically delineated in the investor presentations and the analyst presentations for the rating agency. And we will be audited as an agreement under that bond sale. Bond counsel will be watching this closely, as well as our own city finance department, to ensure that we're spending the money that was borrowed under this bond issuance specifically as was intended.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a motion?
No, I wasn't done with my question.
Oh, okay.
On the work plan, page 1, most of the way down the page, it mentioned for the switch yard, grounding, conduit, control enclosure, lightning protections are not included in the scope of this work. Can you clarify why?
The ground protection on our internal tire line is already there, but they will be designing the grounding system, if you will, but they're not building the grounding system. The ground mat and the lightning protection system is a part of the design of the station itself, but not the construction of it. That will be handled in the construction contract.
Right, but apparently this, I'll read you what it says. I can only tell you what it says. Lightning protection designs are not included in the scope of this work. And we're the lightning capital of the world, certainly of the US. That just seems odd to me that that's not part of the design. So underneath that mentions that substation protection for the 138 kV is included, but transformers for the 25 kV, which is what we would be running, is not included. And I was curious about that too. Again, these are things that I would be happy to meet with staff and understand them better, but I didn't have a lot of time to go over them. Those caught my eye.
Well, it may surprise you that we are aware that lightning does happen here. We do have plans to do lightning design protection and ground mats, and that will be done as well. That's an exclusion they took in this particular contract, but we're not going to build without lightning protection or the ground mats. So it would also be rather unsafe, and nor would FPL1 interconnect. So we will be performing lightning protection and providing grounding systems. The lightning protection is a part of the static wire that will connect the transmission system from this location to the main plant. And that will be designed separately because we do have some movements of poles that we have to make, transmission poles at the Canal Road station. But rest assured, we would not build a system without lightning protection or grounding, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, I assumed that that would be the case. It just was curious that it would be excluded from the design contract. Something that's that central.
Any more questions?
Nope.
Okay, great. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Okay, passes unanimously. Item number 2.
Item number 2. Now we're getting into the nitty gritty of the System Hardening Reliability Improvement Program, the 7th Avenue North circuits. So what does that refer to? 7th Avenue North is one of our substations. It is actually our substation that is in the absolute worst condition. We've had a lot of problems with that substation and also with the circuits that emanate from that station. So that particular station, as many of our stations in our service territory, use 26 kV or 26,000 volt incoming voltage. And we have a single transformer, highly unusual, but we have a single transformer there stepping down to feed 4 circuits. It's what we call a 4-bay station, or 4 bays there. Those 4 circuits that come out of there, and in task order number 2, we're talking about 3 of the 4. When we talk about task order number 3 here, we'll talk about the 3rd, or the 4th rather. But those 3 circuits are in our poorest performing circuit lists. Worst ranked all of our circuits in terms of performance, number of outages, customers affected, total outage minutes, impact on the community. That's one of our poorest performing circuits right after what we call the West 13, which we've already done phase 1 of. So the next step in the process is to go after these circuits. So we're asking you now to approve the construction, or basically the reconstruction of those 3 circuits by Ellie Myers, which will do a number of things. One, it'll eliminate the 4 kV or the 4,000 volt infrastructure and replace it with 26,000 volt infrastructure. Many, if not most of the poles will be replaced. Any pole that we touch, any segment that we touch, we redesign and build to withstand Category 5 storms. And we obviously increase the voltage. So we'll be also removing, if you can imagine, we have what we call primary conductor on top. And then we have occasionally pole mounted transformers that step that down to a secondary voltage. And in many places, that lower secondary conductor, which is actually what people's homes are connected to, is bare open wire secondary, copper secondary. That would be removed and replaced with what we call tripex, which is insulated and better able to withstand animal contacts, vegetation contacts, and things like that. So this $3.5 million, again, this project is also in that independent engineers report, which was then presented for raising of the funds. And this goes after 3 of the 4 circuits that come out of that 7th Avenue North substation. While we're doing this, and we will be coming back to you for the approval to go ahead and actually build the 7th Avenue North substation, because what you just heard me say was, well, 7th Avenue North steps down power from 26,000 volts to 4,000 volts, but now we're going to have 26,000 volt equipment coming out of it, right? We need to rebuild that station also and eliminate that step down transformer, install new equipment, which is what we call a voltage regulator, so that we'll have 26 coming in, 26,000 volts going out, and we'll be closely regulating the voltage, which will also improve the power quality, if you will, to the downstream customers. So we'll have fewer highs and lows, sags and swells, and a higher quality of power to the homes and the businesses downstream.
This part of that hardening process, I mean, the improvements, just the infrastructure improvement?
Yes, we lump those together as we harden the system. We do, it's basically a significant infrastructure improvement. I think it's also important to point out that this particular station dates back to the 1970s, and operating at the 4,000 volt level puts a significant stress on the equipment because it causes a lot of heating, expansion and contraction on these conductors and the connectors and the equipment that was used, many, many years ago. So it's been a major driver of O&M, major driver of customer dissatisfaction and frustration, as not to mention the very, very old poles that are out there that are crumbling because they're so old.
And there'll be no interruption in service for people, right?
Actually, Madam Mayor, there would be some brief interruptions on the day that we actually switch over. So we actually, using our own internal forces, did what we would call, some people might call beta testing, but we converted over 1,000 customers already on the eastern side of our city using a very similar process, but using our own people to do it. So we've developed the sequencing. So what would generally happen is on the day of the cutover, which we do a few blocks at a time, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks at a time. That depends on the demographic of the customer. And I don't mean like, obviously not ethnicity. It has to do with whether it's residential or commercial. Obviously, we would not want to interrupt commercial customers during a business day if we could avoid it. So we try to shift things to a Saturday or Sunday if we need to actually do those swap overs.
And they get notice ahead of time so they don't get surprised.
Yes, we do. We actually do, and it was bumpy getting started. I'm not going to say we did a great job, but we got a lot better at it. Outbound phone calls, to the extent that the customers have a phone number on record with us, and also door hangers in advance. And we'll also publicize this on the website, but we recognize that not everybody's going to be looking at a website, but we will be doing door hangers and phone calls. And what will also happen is word of mouth. They'll actually see our crews working in their backyards, in the alleys, in the streets. So they'll probably ask what's going on, and we're more than glad to tell them, hey, we're ready for this cutover to the new voltage.
Commissioner Maliga.
I just have a question in regards to the letter from L.E. Myers from Sorrento, Florida. Again, everything from the 70s isn't old, Mr. Liberty, out of mind.
Oh, yes, it is.
That's killing me over here. So on the letter on the second page, it says crews 2 and 4 For circuit 702, 703, and 704, these are five-man crews that will be responsible primarily for pole installation. They will handle setting of all the concrete and wood poles. They will be equipped with conventional aerial equipment to support these operations and enlist equipment. My question to you is, I'm always going to be a fighter for our men and women that work in the utility department. Is this something that we could be having done locally instead of paying a crew from Sorrento, Florida, which I don't even know where that is? If it's just setting concrete and wooden poles, why can't we have our employees having an opportunity to earn this living?
That's actually a very good question. So these crews I don't believe, are actually coming from Sorrento. That it happens to be where the office of L.E. Myers is. Many of these crews are hired by L.E. Myers out of the IBW union halls, and they actually live probably in a reasonable commuting distance to the job.
Okay.
The order of magnitude of the work that we have to do is so significant. We only have approximately 16 to 18 or 19 linemen, and we spend much of our time doing breakdown maintenance and responding to outage, motor vehicle accidents, poles down, wire down, things like that. So on any given day, we only have maybe one, and some days two, crews of our own available to do this work. And then we some time ago now, 9 months to 10 months ago, I began bringing one or two of our crews in on Saturdays, working overtime to continue this type of construction. Okay. We simply don't have the staffing available to go through all of these circuits that we have to do in the city. We actually expect at any given time, we may have as many as I believe 3 different construction companies doing work for us on this program, of 5 or more crews doing the work. It's laborious, it's time consuming. Many of these locations we're going into backyards without alleys, where there's fences and things are overgrown. Some of these poles will actually have to be walked in or brought in with crawlers. A lot of equipment that we don't have, and that's the other thing we have to keep in mind, that when we get these crews to do this construction, they bring with them all of the big trucks, what we call the digger derricks, the bucket trucks, the aerial lifts, the backyard machines, and the cable pulling, wire pulling, or wire pulling equipment, and then the rigging equipment to put the transformers up on the poles.
Okay, but they are going to use local IBEW workers?
Oh, absolutely. We only have IBW contractors on the list of contractors.
Thank you.
Okay, do I have a motion? Were there any public comments, Madam Clerk?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Robinson. A second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Stokes. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 5-0. And last but not least, one more.
Last but not least, so this is the 4th circuit that comes out of the 7th Avenue substation. We refer to as the 4DRO1. As we get to know each other, you're going to hear a lot of these acronyms. With all of these circuits in the city have a specific number, which mean a lot to our crews and our system operators, and that's how we communicate with regards to what they are. But this circuit comes out of the 7th Avenue North substation. It feeds customers, but its single largest customer is 1/2 of Palm Beach State College. So, or basically 1/3 of the college, as I understand it. The Palm Beach State College is fed from two different voltages on 2 different ends of their campus. The large majority of the campus, perhaps the newest part, is served by 26,000 volts from our system coming in from the west over by Congress. And then the western, if you will, the eastern part of their campus is fed by this 4 kV circuit. So our desire, and the college's desire, to greatly improve their reliability is to also take this 4DRO1, move it up to 26,000 volt service, and allow us to feed the college from one end or the other, making it highly unlikely, because these circuits would be fed from completely different substations, that we'd ever have a situation where we lost the entire college. So we could feed the college from one end or the other, not put the students out on the Congress in the middle of the day if we have a power outage, not have them lose all of air conditioning, and it also has benefits for us. I think it's important. We're very mindful that the Palm Beach and the state college system has options in their inventory, in their portfolio, where they're going to put up new classrooms and provide new learning centers. We want the campus here at Lake Worth Beach and on our edge of the territory to be a place they want to expand at. We don't want them to say that power here is not reliable enough and that they have to go elsewhere. So it's important that we provide that high level of reliability to them as well.
Thank you. Any other questions? Do I have a motion? Second?
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Liberty.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor, who made that motion?
Commissioner.
Okay, I got it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I know it's very loud. Well,
Support, and we look forward to meeting you all further one-on-one on many, many issues together.
Yeah.
no doubt that will happen.
I already had my first.
Welcome. And welcome.
Electricity 101. Do I, well,
City attorney's report, you're not done yet.
oh,
Yeah, and the
okay,
city-
fine. Go ahead.
Most of you know this, I don't think I have a chance to mention.
Thank you, Commissioner Maliga.
A lawsuit involving FEMA and requesting some advice, so I'll read this into the record. It's for the April 6th meeting, just before 5 o'clock, so hopefully be able to make that.
Lynn, do you have a microphone down there?
Yeah.
'Cause I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, can you hear Debbie?
You cannot hear him.
Here, please.
Just
You can use this.
Step on up.
Yeah, he needs to get near. You're so soft spoken.
Nice to see.
A little bit louder. So I'm requesting advice from the Lake Worth Beach City Commission concerning pending litigation, specifically regarding settlement negotiations and strategies related to litigation expenditures in the case of City of Lake Worth Beach, Florida versus Federal Emergency Management Agency and Peter T. Gaynor in his official capacity. Case number 19 CV 81140 Sing Hall, and I'm requesting an attorney-client session to be scheduled for April 6th, 2021 at 5 p.m. The estimated length of the attorney-client session will be approximately 45 minutes. This session will be attended by members of the City Commission, Mayor Betty Resch, Commissioner Sarah Malega, Kim Stokes, Christopher McCoy, and Herman Robinson, City Manager Michael Morstein, myself, and outside counsel Ernie Abbott and Michelle Salzberg. The court reporter will be present to ensure that the session is fully transcribed and the transcript will be made public upon the conclusion of that litigation. I just needed to read it into the record, and the clerk will then schedule for an hour before the next April 6th meeting.
Can we get emailed the information on what this lawsuit is pertaining to?
I'll
Since we're
certainly talk with you.
Prior to that meeting.
Yeah, prior to.
Yes.
Okay.
Do we have to have a motion to set it? Madam
No,
Clerk?
Madam Mayor.
It's
I'll
just
take
an
care of it.
It's an announcement.
See you on the 6th. At what time? 5?
5 o'clock.
We'll have your scripts and everything ready for you.
And I'll be with each one of you ahead of time or talk to each
For the
one of you guys,
process.
give you a little more background.
Okay,
And
that would
the
be great.
outside lawyers will give you the real.
Lovely.
Is that the only city attorney's report?
I have nothing else.
Well, then let's move on.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. City
Good to
manager's
see you all
report.
finding your rhythm tonight.
Oh, yeah. It's a process.
Madam Mayor and Commissioners, just a couple of things. First, thank you for your patience. Thank you for your comments about pacing yourself and the organization. I appreciate that, because while y'all are drinking from the fire hose, staff is trying to also still conduct business, but to be very conscientious. You received, I don't know if everybody appreciates the volumes of documents, the trainings you're going to have to do, the sunshine law training, the ethics trainings, the meetings that have been going on, trying to just get your offices settled. And meanwhile, we're keeping an eye on what's happening in Tallahassee with session.
Right.
And then, oh, by the way, there's the budget process that we're going to be cranking up. So it's my intent to try to work with you to develop some workshop schedules, which Commissioner Robinson was mentioning. We just got our 5th commissioner on. So we finally, not to rush things, but we're going to really try to now pick up the pace on scheduling.
He doesn't have training wheels on anymore. He's good.
Yeah, where he know?
He's,
He hit the ground running. But the point is, from staff's perspective, we're not trying to drag our feet. We're waiting for things to fall and things to fall into place. And that was a key component, was getting that runoff resolved so that we can move forward as a body. So with that, budget is going to be a big issue coming up. The workshops that we're going to talk about, ARPA, the federal program, some of the things that you brought to Commissioner Maliga about what's happening on the federal level with Congresswoman Frankel, if not this session, there's always next year too. And the conversations about the remaining sales tax and even the existing sales tax commitments, you have a lot of questions and those things need to be thoughtfully talked about. It's just a lot of time and energy. So just please be patient with us as well. We're trying to do our best to get you everything you're asking for including the other items that are priorities for you. Even the conversation tonight about talking about the sheriff's budget contract. Honestly, you guys need to be pretty soon. If you're going to do a designated budget negotiation team,
Right.
Y'all need to start that soon because you've got to ramp up and find out what are the details so you can even have those conversations with the sheriff's office.
Do we all have copies of the sheriff's contract?
No.
Can we be,
That starts with that. Yes.
why don't you, if you email that to us, we can start chipping away at it.
Okay.
I'll take care of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And how you're going to approach that negotiation, and give me direction on what you want to do. So that all those things, and going through this first meeting as a body tonight, you saw that there was some, little wrinkles that you have to work out on some of the process, but it was incredibly productive. You got through the whole agenda. There was no shoes thrown. It was a really good meeting, and I appreciate that, and staff does too. So continue to be patient with us as well. We'll work together and get this to where you want it to go, but it's going to take some time. There's a lot happening. So thank you very much with that. I just also want to let you know that we have been working with the county, and Found Care is our not-for-profit agency who's working with us on administering the Johnson & Johnson one-shots vaccinations in the city. And we're working on doing a walk-up and drive-through component that will be rolling out the notifications, trying to really target the Guatemala Mayan, the minority communities, the Black African-American community, and do it in a way that we really get the word out, because we're going to have 500 doses. And as they're lowering also apparently the age, those are going to probably go really fast. So as much as we can harvest and get in the city and find a partner to administer, we'll partner and do as best we can, just like we're doing with the food drives. I did get some positive news. We were working with the Lake Worth Towers. I understand they're about 80% vaccinated inside.
Yeah.
So Bob Spear, who runs that, has been staying in touch with me. And if there's any other groups out there, we've had a few individuals who contacted us about trying to get in-home shots. So staff has been really good about trying to push and get people what they need during this time of need. And I'm real proud of them as well. So just wanted to give you that brief update. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, the sunshine law training. We need that.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I should have mentioned that. So each one of you, that individual. Oh.
Glenn, if you want to use the microphone.
He's coming. He's coming.
I'm coming.
We're on it.
It's like the Wizard of Oz.
I know, really.
Yeah, it is like the Wizard of Oz. That's what I was thinking about. So I've met with each one of you and provided each one of you with a notebook, which is an outline of the Sunshine Law, Public Records Law, and Code of Ethics. And we spoke briefly about it, hopefully at least enough to give you the parameters. I'd like to, at an upcoming meeting, do an actual presentation. I probably would try to keep it to 15 minutes. And I also mentioned, I think to each one of you, that you have to take your 4-hour class. The notebook I gave you is the 4-hour class because we were selected to teach it this year. So the only difference is you're not going to hear us talk for 4 hours unless you go to that particular lesson. So if you like, we'll try to do it April 6th. I know your agendas are getting like this. I'm trying to work with Mike and figure out when is the best time to get you all that. But in summary, don't speak to each other. Don't communicate with each other about anything to do with Lake Worth business. You can talk to each other all you want about family and sports and the weather.
Herman's great suit.
Herman's great suit. But it's now,
Herman, I got to say it.
He looks good.
Matches that wall perfectly.
He looks good.
He fits into the color scheme.
That is incredible.
This is a new color scheme for us.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah,
nice.
it's interesting. It looks like a.
Any other questions?
tail.
Leave the microphone area.
Because it's more than just talking these days. It's also social media and.
No texting, no
emails.
Well, we're going to talk about, not to each other, right?
Schedule a session.
We'll schedule a session.
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And is there, Mr. City Manager, is there a training, I'm hearing about that there's like a day-long training or 2-day training for elected officials somewhere in the
The League
state?
of Cities, Madam Mayor, sometimes puts on new elected official kind of, and I would say that's a good idea because you get to hear from other elected officials who've gone through it.
Right. And do we know if one's coming up?
We'll find out from Richard Ratcliffe at the League and get you that information.
Thanks.
I don't know they've scheduled it yet.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have any other closing comments before we go home?
Motion to adjourn.
Second? Anybody second? Okay, all in favor?